I guess that leaves me to kick things off. Welcome everyone to the 2023 Opus Magnum Weeklies. This is our 4th week, Black Powder. Usually the 4th week is the more notorious week. It's the one where we really cut loose on a kind of sadistic idea we had. This year's week 4 was pretty tame compared to previous week 4s. The first one was Arkwright Promotion, which, good lord, what a difficult puzzle. And last year was Nightmare Fuel. And it's literally Nightmare Fuel. So I think we've gone a little easy on you people this year. So this puzzle was a joint effort. I think the brain's trust was, it was largely Bist and I. There was input from Haxton though, and some kind of working out on the cycle counts and area counts and everything. Bist came up with the idea of doing this cycle times regions. This was actually spoken about while we... Hey! Okay.
Hi.
But yeah, I think Bist originally came up with the idea while we were doing Tonic of Transmogrification, and then this kind of spawned off that. And
Oh yeah, it's the ring enlargement.
oh right, stream title. And yeah, and then I think I came up with the Regents, and then we just play tested area afterwards and went, oh hey wait, area is interesting and also difficult. Let's do it.
And also we did some math run for the cycles times reagent magic. Whoops.
Oh yeah, I didn't get to the part where we fucked up yet, but there was a part where we fucked up.
Yeah. Oh well, it was still some way. Yeah, well, it's a cycles area puzzle. Have fun.
But yeah, I think I just decided we're doing area first. Just because that's the one that I'll personally be able to talk about a bit more comfortably.
That's the interesting one. But yeah, cycles area is basically cycles times reagents is basically cycles area with a certain reagent now. So you have fun with that. I guess it's still a cycles area puzzle.
All right, let's get the AHK booted up. Where am I?
Playtesters never make the 15. Yeah. Hi, Biggie.
The playtesters didn't intend for a 15, actually.
No, actually, our maths gave us a 1632.
Yeah, no, it was... No, the double regent was not where we fucked up. We fucked up the easy part. We fucked up the single regents.
We fucked up our math.
We got the hard part right, and we fucked up the easy part. Like, we didn't think 15 was possible. I don't... Yeah, it's not.
We're a cycle off on every single calculation.
Literally every...
Us.
Yeah, right, theoretically 15 is possible, but Biggie came up to me this week with a geometrical proof for why 15 is impossible, and I'm inclined to agree with her.
Yeah, from now on we should play test our puzzles more. If this actually became a tournament puzzle, we would probably have playtested it a little more than that.
Yeah. And then we might have gone back to the old regions, actually, because those ones, I don't think the cycles counts were wrong on that. Or I would have picked a different metric.
I don't know.
I know, it's an interesting puzzle. Probably could have found a different metric or something.
I don't know. I mean, just playing cycles is also... well, 15 isn't possible, so cycles isn't that interesting. I don't know.
Okay, not entirely sure where I should start.
Let me go. Let me check for you and turn it on.
I might start at 16th place.
I think I should know which one's the... No, there's the first one. Let me just actually...
Yeah, I'm not gonna bother with triple-digit area counts until we do cycles times regions.
Okay, yeah, ignore the triple digits, that's for sure. ACG. Let me launch that. Let's see.
I might just start at 16th place.
Yeah. 70 Storm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Sounds
So
like a start.
at 16th place, we're gonna start at 31 area with 7 T-Storm. Okay, so this one will be using the Saltpeter Animismus Regent with Disposal. Now I think theoretical minimum for the Disposal Glyph, if you want to use the Disposal Glyph, the theory min is 22 area. I'm pretty sure it is not possible to get below 22 area. This is a pretty cool, neat solve. I do like the presence of a non-piston arm in an area solve. That always kind of tickles me. The bottom 2 hexes, touch unfortunate, but getting the, I think the Regent kind of gets in the way. It's not really being suppressed, so to turn the black powder around to get that final bond in, it needs to clip a couple of hexes down the bottom here. There's also storage hex here. The notes ask, is this min area? This is not min area. I can unfortunately confirm, no, this is not min area. We'll talk about min area though. I'm looking forward to that conversation.
This also uses only one of the 2 reagents.
Yeah, actually, Regent use is gonna be funny here. You can really go either way. You can either stick to Saltpeter or use both, and you can get down to what is actual min. So Regent use is gonna be kind of back. I think my prediction is it's gonna be back and forth. I think using the charged sulfur by itself only works if you have disposal, so I think that only goes down to 22.
That gives us how much? That gives you how much waste? If you only use charred sulfur.
Charged sulfur gives you quite a bit of waste. Oh, actually no, it gives you...
No, the problem with charred sulfur is you have to use if you only use charred sulfur, you have to use Bertho. Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the right. That's the problem. So no, yeah, right. I forgot. Yeah, it was the Berlo problem.
Otherwise, it's wasteless, I think.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not.
But Berlo's just as big as a disposal glyph anyway. So, actually, in terms of area,
it's wasteless.
Yeah. Now I want to design an area puzzle where you have to choose between disposal and Berlo, just because they're both 7 hexes.
Oh yeah, that would be fun. I mean, I sort of designed a puzzle where this puzzle sort of is choose between glyphs. We also had what's its name, film crystal that was also choose between glyphs, which was the intention for the whole puzzle. Choose between glyphs.
I do like glyph choice puzzles where it's unclear. I think those are really cool, and this is one of them. All right.
I really got my second straight one.
All right, moving to 15th place. We're going to jump down 9 hexes to 22 area with Guilty Bystander.
Into the 20s.
Already down to the low 20s. Now,
Notes.
this is our... No notes. This is our only 22 area. So, I can only assume this is the last time we'll be seeing the disposal glyph for area. So yeah,
what's next? Oh, 21.
Yeah, we yeah, this is the only 22 area solve.
That is scoring. Well, I mean, we're not scoring, but there's 2 other 22 area solves that have since been done better.
Yeah, both other people who submitted 22 improved. But yeah, I guess it's a pretty simple idea here. One piston, no track, which is, and you need a bonder and a debonder, so min glyphs. I think, yeah, min glyphs, and, yeah, no wasted hexes, so yeah.
You can use less hexes than a disposal glyph by using this exact same layout, sort of, and using what's its name?
You mean
duplicator and duplicator triplex instead,
so
which is -2.
Yeah, there's a few different ways of getting under this. So how do you do it without a disposal glyph? The first is the one that Bist mentions. You instead use a triplex bonder and a duplicator.
And the other one, which we'll see.
And the other one uses...
We'll see the other methods. That's the one everyone knows. Let's keep the other ones more secret.
Alright. In 14th place, we jump down to 21. It is our only 21 area solve with please, 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 lol. Alright, so here you're gonna see duplicator triplex.
Yeah, unfortunately with extra track. Which isn't actually necessary.
No, yeah, we see a lot of our solves submitted with 20s. I won't say all of them, but a lot, yeah. And basically, most of them will be this, but without the track X, more or less, because you don't actually need the track X here. Other than that, you get the basic idea. You just turn salt into fire. And, yeah. I think you, from memory, you need to grab more of the charred sulfur than you do the, saltpeter. That is, you need more of the Morse input than you do the fire input.
Because fire you can reuse.
You're right, because the salt's basically...
From the salts, yeah.
Yeah, you treat salt as fire, so you're grabbing... So you basically need to grab, like, I think it's like 3 Morse for every fire input. Did I get that wrong? Yeah, it's 2. It's 2 for everyone. Yeah, I did get that wrong. Oh, no, I got it right. 3 of the Morse input, 1 of the fire. My bad. Well, I was right, and I second-guessed myself.
I mean, it depends on your method, actually. Some of them have a permanent reagent.
Oh, yeah.
Not permanent, a permanent catalyst.
Catalyst, yeah.
Oh, yeah. People are talking about, how do you pronounce that? M-arms? Area minus arms.
I make no apologies for not going with area minus arms.
Oh yeah, no, this puzzle wasn't designed for area minus arms, even though, like, because it's not meant to be a disposal puzzle, or a waste puzzle, it's meant to be a, you do it at 20 area, and if you're crazy enough, you do it at 19 puzzle.
Yeah, it was always designed with, like, 19 as being a stretch goal, because 19 is, like, orders of magnitude more difficult than 20. And there are, like, a cool few ways to get 20. So, I know Best was pushing for cost as the secondary.
I definitely wanted the cost as the secondary. I still want it to be the secondary. I am very disappointed.
I don't know. I'm not convinced cost is secondary. I don't know. I think
you'll see what you'll see when you see my solution. I mean, you already know Zorflex, but people in the chat. I actually submitted this week for area.
So to answer Hello Jasper's question, 18 is not theoretically possible. I think I have a proof, but it's pretty.
It's glyph min. But,
nah. It's a pretty involved
it's
proof.
It's glyph min, but because of like actual output pushing, it's not.
Nah, it's so 18 is impossible for a pretty involved reason. I'm gonna need to show you why later as we get to the top solutions. It involves the bonder.
Ah, okay. A bonder relative to output?
Nah.
Just the bonder. Okay.
Bonder relative to how many free hexes you have.
Bonder relative to access, okay. I wonder if Hello Jasper did a 19 though. That's a very Hello Jasper thing to do.
No. Hello Jasper did not. In 13th place, we go straight down to 20, and we start with...
Welcome to 20.
And we start with Fiesta Land.
At 1,532 cycles, you know what that means. Oh, by the way, single input. It's a single input 20.
So, the idea will be here, single input, 20 hexes, and just we'll be seeing the anime glyph and Vitae waste, and that's just how 20 area is gonna work for this, or at least that's how this 20 area is gonna work. In the note,
this is basically
sorry.
You go first.
The notes read, we cannot rule out 19 area, but it seems like it would be harder than 20 area by a few orders of magnitude at least. Yeah, that's what I said. We are happy enough with this effort. Shout out to OM Clone for making waste shuffling massively easier to program and tune.
Yeah, so I'm assuming they didn't find the easy 20. But this is a failed 19.
Yeah, it'd be more accurate to call this a failed 19 than something that was trying to be 20.
Yeah. But I'm assuming they didn't know about the wasteless methods at 20. Which we'll see in a bit.
So
we haven't seen those.
So I guess the crux of this will be the final, and if we do get 19s, it'll be the final input that's the hardest one to work out. So, because Fiesta Lane have given themselves an extra hex to work with, the final input will have 3 hexes of space. Yeah, I was reading a couple of the notes by some of their leading solutions, and they mentioned it was easy to think about it in terms of the hexes that you still have, like, as space to work with, than to think about all the waste. Because eventually you just have so much less space than you have waste.
Oh yeah, that's what I do.
I think it's a good heuristic for making it easier to try and do all this goddamn shuffling.
Yeah, it's actually not that much waste. I mean, it's a lot, but it's not, it's not that much.
I do feel like this is one of those things that you kind of need experience with to not instantly freak out at the sight of.
Yeah.
Not that much when it covers 80% of the hexes.
Good extremely early morning.
Average average waste area puzzle. Have you seen puzzles like what Ada reactor cost and what was it? There's Aether reactor cost. There's also fulmination area, which also basically does this. How Jasper is nuts.
There's also nightmare fuel area, which I know Rolami spent a lot of time on last year. Alright, so slightly important note here. I guess it's a foreshadowing note. There are 3 hexes of space here, and you can see they're all going to be used by Arm 1 just pushing it up. Now you can do a push. You can do a push if there's 2 hexes of space. You can't do any sort of push if there's only 1 hex of space. You can only pivot.
Yeah, you have to pivot it in for us for a 19 at the center fire. So if you imagine if the Moors on the Animismus isn't there and it's already pivoted from the fire by 60 degrees clockwise. Oh, it loops.
I believe
And
it.
mechanics chainsaw
Give it the
moves.
output, yeah.
So I believe 19. Yeah, you can, because you have those 2 hexes of space to work with. So if you're kind of perfect about it, you might be able to push. But I don't
Yeah,
think.
but like, does anybody have 19? No idea. Okay, I actually do know, but you know.
I certainly don't. I only made 1 sword this week. And it's for my favorite non-scoring category.
Well, certainly
Is
not
it-
for
Is
Eric.
it instructions?
No, it's totally not instructions. It's instructions.
Okay, we're gonna take a jump down here to 12th place. And the
But yeah, this is a glimpse of what will become of Solves once we get near the end.
So jumping down over 800 cycles, we go down to 699 cycles by random guest. We're seeing a return of duplicator triplex here.
Yeah, okay, this is the easy 20. This is Wasteless 20.
Actually, I'd say it was one of 2 easy 20s, and I reckon no one who actually...
Having done the other 20, no, it is not.
Oh, okay. Alright. Because there's a 20 method that I know Bist submitted that us weekly hosts found that no one really considered. So
Yeah.
I guess if you're not willing to
I
call it an
support
easy
it.
20, we can call it the medium 20. I don't know. That's a weird name for it. Okay, so I guess in terms of order of operations, this one goes ahead and duplicates and triplex bonds all of its fire as soon as it can, and then worries about having to put the black powder together with the Moors.
Yeah. So it has 2 triplexes on the board. 2 triplex pairs on the board at times.
And you can see as soon as Salt is on the board, it is like instantly duplicated. Or not that one, but... Yeah, it is very quickly duplicated.
Oh yeah, Biggie is correct. That's the method I used. It did pretty well in terms of speed. Honestly, since it's an enlistment, you can use 2 arms. Is it fun to program? Well, I liked it.
The cycle count wasn't too bad, so you know, that's
Oh
usually
no,
good.
it's decent.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that we haven't seen it yet. And what for a bit.
So, I will read the notes here, actually. So started out with a bonder-unbonder disposal solution at 22 area. Shaved 2 hexes by replacing the disposal with dupe and triplex, which is 5 area versus 7. 1 fire input and 3 Moors inputs makes 3 outputs without waste, so the solve ends up being 3p. Juggle, juggle, juggle. TBH, there wasn't much of a plan on how to make 3 products in 20 area, just fiddle with it till it worked. 19 area might be possible if you juggle the salt instead of disposing or recycling it, but I couldn't find a layout that worked. Small wonder, as at the 6th product, you'd have 16 of the 19 hexes covered by atoms. I tip my hat if some mad lad makes it work. It's actually another area puzzle. It's not an area puzzle, but it was a jalapeno challenge for green vitriol. The idea was if anyone could get the min area without like projection or something, I would eat jalapenos, and the idea was you needed projection to not have a shitload of waste. And Shadow Cluster and Username Void both did it anyway, and I had to eat 4 jalapenos, and...
Oh yeah, that happened.
I don't know,
The puzzle was also there.
I'm
Did
like...
you bet on the same thing?
Yeah, we both ate jalapenos that day. I think Mr. Puzzle handles his spice better than I do, though. I mean, I'm not awful at handling my spice, but, you know, I'm not brilliant either. Alright. Gonna have a look at some of the other 20 areas. Moving on to 667 cycles.
Skip that one.
Actually, skip that one, you're right. Actually, it's weird
Because
that...
you didn't group the two
No.
teams together.
Here's the
after
weird...
they changed the name.
Here's the weird part, I did. It just didn't work.
You did? Rip.
Rip.
You
Alright,
did
sorry.
find somewhere.
Alright, so we're gonna skip 11th place because I fucked up somehow.
Everybody before 11th place, you're bumped up.
So...
everyone like under 11th place. Over? If your number is more than 11, subtract 1 from it.
That was a very technically worded sentence. In 10th place...
English, I can't.
Alright, so we're gonna jump down over 100 cycles here to 589. In 10th place, we have Bambi. Another completely different layout for this duplication triplex. I do like how the inputs are... I do like how the inputs are handled here.
The name is area optimized by Shavian A.
I guess one of the reasons I stand by cycles as a secondary is because I guess using this method, at least you have to 3p it, and that's very unclear how like the most elegant way of 3ping it is.
I think it's pretty clear.
I don't know, there's a lot of like subtle
For
like
people with experience.
there's a lot of like subtle like GNU-esque order of operations considerations that you have to make that makes it unclear, I think.
I mean, having done the other way, there's more to consider there.
True, yeah. See, this one does try and save a couple of cycles. I noticed a couple of the other ones did this as well, but this one in particular uses some nice, like slick little wanding tricks to try and make sure it's maintaining as many bonds as it can, so it doesn't really have to debundle that much.
Oh yeah, this is using the I optimize by doing less grabs method.
Yeah, exactly, like grab count becomes a strong consideration here.
Yeah, and like convenience of duplication also comes in later.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of like subtle, like, how do you position your glyphs kind of question that you kind of just have to eyeball it when you do an area.
Also, week 5, people are asking about week 5 speed solve. Oh yeah, I hate the dots. Let me remove those.
The what?
I'm looking at week 5. I hate the dots. I am removing them.
Dots?
You know how, like, in the preview, there's usually, like...
What BIST means,
in
so...
the preview image.
So if you have a look at my screen right now, there are, like, dots over all the glyphs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the BIST is talking about those dots. She wants to get rid of those.
Ah, I see. The
Because it's
I don't
not
know,
the
grab
preview right
point
now,
dots.
you don't like it.
Don't if you just press play. They do.
Yeah, I press
Yeah.
tab because it doesn't keep on, so that it doesn't keep on going. But let me actually use your layout though. So, and remember to press tab.
Alright, in the meantime...
Continue.
In the meantime, I will continue. In 9th place, we dropped down a whopping 3 cycles to 586 with Team Saijondras. So do you remember John in the Discord mentioned they just kind of threw this together in, I believe, the last hour or two? Which is a good effort from them. See, I don't think 20 area was the most difficult thing in the world once you knew, like, how to look for it. So this one, I don't know, I don't mind this layout. I don't know. It's difficult to differentiate it from the last solve. This one definitely makes use of less bond preservation, but it just kind of gives itself a nice, I guess you can call it workspace right in the middle here, where it's kind of easy to manipulate atoms. Which is why it kind of measures up. In fact, this one's very nice. It's a lot more straightforwardly programmed. I do like this pivot here at the end to get this final bond in place once everything else has been sorted out. So here it'll like do a couple pivots and a couple pivots back and then just output. That's a pretty slick move.
Is week 5 going to be harder? No, we're not going by the puzzles get harder and harder thing. We're just, this puzzle is interesting, let's put that in thing.
I mean, this one was easier than the last one, if you don't count optimizing it.
What was the last puzzle? Oh yeah, ring enlargement.
Well, I mean, yeah, just solving ring enlargement's more difficult, but this is more of an optimization thing, I think.
Yeah, to solve this one, you just throw away all the salt.
That is what you do. That is what I did.
So speed solve went really quickly. This is not a speed solve puzzle.
No, this is not designed, no, with speed solving in mind. None of these are designed with speed solving in mind. Alright, moving on. We drop down a whopping 4 hexes this time to 582 with Spiritual Shampoo. Who made the I remember that one of their spicy predictions was that they would do better in area than they would in cycles. Kind of very counterintuitive prediction there, but 8th place. I don't know, I reckon Spiritual Shampoo's got a better cycle showing. I don't know that though, so we'll see.
Oh yeah, Zorflex, you mispronounced it as 4 hexes less.
Oh, hexes, whoops. Yeah, dropping down to 16 area. Week 5 is going to be harder. No, I said week 5 is going to be spicy, but I'm going to let that one be interpreted.
Oh yeah, it is a spicy puzzle.
It is a spicy puzzle.
It's gonna be another meme week. It's gonna be another meme week, isn't it?
It's all I'm saying. Puzzle. All I'm saying is it's a spicy puzzle.
Oh, it's capsaicin. That's my 2 guesses. It's either capsaicin or meme week.
Not both.
I know, I guess my favorite part about this solution is how the last 2 bonds are made. It's literally just 1 bond, 2 bond output.
1 bond pivot. Yeah.
That probably gets the 4 hex. The 4 hexes. I said it again. That gets the 4 hexes right there.
It's got to do some bonding for the triplex though, and that's a bit annoying.
Yeah,
it's not a 4-axis duplication.
Yeah, debonding seems to take a good few cycles as well, but it's not that bad.
Shadow Poo teams are ephemeral when it comes to weeklies.
So Shadow Cluster, yeah.
However you pronounce that word.
I think Shadow Cluster just was not inspired by this puzzle. I don't think Shadow Cluster is the biggest area waste puzzle enjoyer. He also mentioned to me. He mentioned to me in my DMs that he was initially aiming for 18. So he didn't make it far enough to figure out that that was impossible. So he probably thought he was aiming for 18 and was only going to be granted 1 hex of, free space to do anything at the final output, which probably dissuaded him more than it should have. I don't know.
Having one hex of free space at the end. How would you? You can't do anything.
No, it's like, no, the puzzle's not possible with just 1 hex of free space here.
Because like the only thing you can do with 1 hex of free space to the final product is like, what was it called? Duplicate, yes.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you could duplicate or you could project, but there aren't any methods before sliding into the final thing.
you can also pivot. So if, say this is the black powder, you can just kind of pivot it, and that only moves 1 hex, but...
Oh yeah, I guess you could pivot it, shuffle, pivot, shuffle, pivot, shuffle, and then
The problem is when you try and... Imagine you've got the final bond, so it's on your final bonder here, and you pivot it once, and your only free hex is on that bonder space, so you can't move the black powder without putting something on the bonder, and that's just... and you make a wrong bond, and then you still have the same problem even if you make another... Even if you bond another atom onto it, you still can't get it off the bonder, and then you're eventually left with this wheel, which you're doomed to pivot in place forever.
Yeah, that's.
But there's no free hex somewhere else.
Exactly, there is no other free hex, so you need...
No, after you have the wheel, there'll be a free hex somewhere else.
Oh, there would, but then... Right, yeah, there would be, but you wouldn't be able to move the wheel, because it's a wheel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so because of that, you need a minimum of 2 hexes of free space, so that... Because the bonder is 2 hexes. So, you need to clear the bonder. And, I guess that was my rant for why 18 area is impossible. Whether we'll see 19 is another story. Dropping down, we finally take a sizable cycles drop to 522. We go down to Rebix. Not interested in shuffling around all day is the solution title, probably in reference to 19 area. The notes mention 19 area out there, 18 area theoretically possible. It's not, but it's hard to prove that, so fair enough.
Reminds me of the time when I was looking through all the cost solves and trying to prove some of those. I got one.
I like this layout, actually. Also, I like this use of the continual pivots here at the very end here, as it bonds the second Morzon. That's pretty slick. It's that wheel motion that I was just then talking about.
It is.
I probably could have used that in my own solution. Can I? Was there access to that point? Yeah, but it was in an inconvenient place. I think.
It's probably something you need to kind of keep in mind when you're designing it pretty early on.
Oh no, I don't have. I don't have access to that point.
Yeah, okay.
Is this the pivot of the week?
It'll be our
There's
first...
gonna be several of these.
I reckon it'll be our first candidate for Pivot of the Week, unless someone else does it. Then it's not an original, cool, creative pivot, but... Who knows?
It's probably gonna be better than last week's pivot of the week.
Last week had no Pivot of the Week. There was a...
No, it has one, we just couldn't find it.
Oh, that's right, we couldn't... No, it was... I think it was mentioned in the notes or in chat that the Pivot of the Week was like literally a useless... Like, it was pivoting air. Like, literal just nothing.
Yes, that's still a pivot.
Couldn't find
Is that from a Stephen solve?
Nah, it was from like... No, it was...
It was a legit solve that like somehow scored 1 on the like pivot like score.
Yeah,
it was supposed to have 0 and didn't pivot anything.
Yeah, it inexplicably had a pivot instruction. It didn't actually affect placement, but it was literally just someone accidentally left a pivot instruction in their tape.
And it actually played through during the tape.
Yeah, we couldn't find it on stream though, because it was like literally programmed out thousands of instructions.
Oh. Okay, that is unfortunate. This is why when you submit, you check the, the metrics.
Alright. Nice orderly layout though, nothing too fancy. I do like how the piston is kind of surrounded. Moving on. We have Bist's host solve. So this is the other way. This is the other way to get 20 that's not... I mean, Fiesta also had a 20, but this one uses waste compression, which Fiesta's didn't, which I find interesting.
So waste compression, more so like reusing waste. This is severely unoptimized though, so
I believe the idea... So, my understanding is the idea, it's kind of the opposite of Duplicator, where instead of grabbing extra Moors, you grab extra fire.
Yeah, basically.
And it's a cool idea. This is only possible down to 20. You can't use this for a 19 because you need at least 2 hexes of arm space, whether that's an arm on a track or 2 pistons, to access all of the animismus glyphs, glyph hexes, which is unfortunate.
Let's talk about AGC, by the way.
Right, yeah, so,
if this were a track and a piston, that's cheaper than the triplex solves.
yeah, so this goes cheaper than the duplicator triplex method, which is why Bist wanted to do AGC, because you wanted to encourage this.
I wanted to see people, yeah. Because this is harder to find than the triplex method. Mostly because,
I will grant, I didn't expect it to be harder to find,
ways.
because it made perfect sense to me. I didn't actually think it would be harder to find.
Yeah, but imagine calculating the amount of waste on this.
It's harder to program, but...
Sure. I sure didn't know how the amount of waste was before I finished solving it. It's 6, by the way, for VK2 solve.
But yeah, no, you're like halving the waste. I know, that made sense to me at the time.
Yeah, but because of math, it wasn't necessarily that.
I didn't
If you end
even...
up with 2 salt, you could make that into a VK and Moors, but you could. It's easier to just. It doesn't work out like that. That you can reuse that Moors. This is relatively fast though, and it's completely unoptimized. So I reckon a solve with 2 arms can go below 500. It probably most definitely can go sub 500.
Yeah, this idea had more potential to go even faster, I think, but I don't think any of the other 20 area solves will use it. So this is the first and last you'll see of it, which is a bit unfortunate, but it is a cool idea.
It is a 20. It aims for a 20, it gets a 20. And it does it with 2 arms.
It's the best 20 that it can be. Alright, moving on to 6th place. We drop down to 479 cycles. With Witch Push. So back to the, I guess, method.
Method.
Which is just duplicator triplex.
Man, it's been so long I forgot what original method was.
It was lubricating solvents. The idea was to make this, like, join both products together, just bond them all at once and then separate. Because there were 2 6-atom products. but
Oh
the
yeah,
idea...
it was making a specific intermediate, that's what.
Yeah, it was just bond all 12 atoms together at once and then debond the halves. And this was also valuable for cost.
Not that best cost solves used it though.
No. Because 12 atom shape is just hard to swing around cheaply.
Yeah, because of cost area.
Yeah. This one, I don't know. I like the layout itself better for this one. I think it makes good use of the, so most of the solves that we've seen to this point have like the product glyph out of the way. And this one has it right smack dab in the middle, and it just kind of gives the solve a bit more swing space to work with. So it just kind of feels spacier when you're kind of moving stuff around, and it works out pretty conveniently, I think. And we can see the last couple bonds are pretty straightforward to get. Just you can do a couple pivots that the other solves weren't able to, couldn't afford in terms of area. And it is nice that it just leaves duplicated fire just on the triplex way out of the way, and the rest of the solve is able to just operate. I also like how easy that duplication is straight out off the bat.
A pretty sure method was you take 4 inputs and stick them all together to get 2 outputs.
Yeah,
It gets 4 inputs into the output shape with 2 of them, yeah.
yeah, that's what I said, pretty much.
It gave us
You said it was
amazing
2
insight.
You said it was 2 inputs. I just put it on my instructions so
Did
that
we? No, I think we said we stuck 2 outputs. I think we said we stuck sticking 2 outputs together.
yeah, sort of.
So it is 2 outputs together.
It is 2 outputs. But it is mainly because 4 inputs arranged are exactly the atoms for.
Yeah, I would
2
know. I
outputs.
just got the puzzle.
Gecko mentioning the Moore's debond into triplex without ungrabbing is smooth. Yeah, I mean, it is, because you save grabs, which is kind of an important consideration with cycle secondary.
Yeah.
So I think it's like...
Pivot and attach. AF would be an interesting metric, honestly. How long can you hold on to shit?
AF. Alright, because F is grab. Yeah. I totally knew that without looking at my keyboard. Are we gonna have an infinite product in the weeklies? Who knows?
Do we?
We do. Yeah, we
Check.
know. I know. I know the answer, but I'm not gonna say it.
Let me go check real quick. We had one last time, right? It was ignition cord.
Ignition. We had ignition
was a
cord
good
last
part.
year. We had
Oh yeah,
superconductor.
sweeper rod is technically also an infinite.
Technically. Superconductive.
It's in the,
Super,
that's last time.
superconductive copper was also a polymer.
Yeah, but sweeper rod is as much as infinite as rust removal is.
Okay.
I guess rust. Yeah, they both use some infinite tech wherein you don't have to drop. That's about it.
All right, moving on. We enter top 5 territory. We take a moderate cycles drop to 433. We have Team Her Puzzle, which is a conglomeration of Mr. Puzzle, RPO, and Harry's 8. Alright, so reading... so Harry's the one that wrote the notes here. I had originally made a 22 area 436 cycle solve that used a glyph of disposal, and RPO kindly listened to me ramble about it. Then I asked them if they wanted to be in a team, and they said yes, so Mr. Puzzle became Her Puzzle. Mr. Puzzle
Wait,
showed...
so discussion happened before you were in a team?
I guess it did, technically.
I mean, I guess it doesn't matter.
I don't really care because it's the weeklies, but yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, you should do the team part before the discussion part. Mr. Puzzle showed me a solve they had made. 20 area using a duplicator and a tribonder. I had somehow ruled that out early on because I was stuck thinking about pulling regions in equal proportions and didn't think if a duplicator would skew the ratio towards fire, I'd just grab more Moors instead, silly. Which is a good insight.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good insight, I think, because I don't know, I guess to this point we were talking about, just...
We've been taking it for granted.
We've been taking it for granted, but it is a legitimate insight to have. Still, Mr. Puzzle's 20 area solve was 667, which is a number, did that... Oh yeah, that's the number I skipped. That's the 11th place solve, if anyone's wondering. I tried to do better, and by adapting my previous layout, I got a 447. My solution didn't loop at all. It was a weird pseudo loop where the first 18 instructions were one time only. So there must have been initialization. But still, who cares as long as... Then RPO cleaned it up, bringing it down to 433 and made it loop.
Yeah, in classic Mr. Puzzle fashion, but empty grabs.
Maybe RPO and Mr. Puzzle were just the same person.
Here we go again.
They're just pretending to be a team to hide their power level. Oh look, now we're a team. Now I can pretend to be a team, so I'm really good at, you know, now I can actually show people how good I am without letting them think that I'm actually this good at the game. It was totally a team effort, guys, believe me.
Also, let me go grab some breakfast. I'll be right back.
All good. Conspiracy. So is this actually 6p? Let me just hit that real quick. Yeah, it is. Yeah, because it uses... I think Bist called it out earlier, having a permanent catalyst. Right, so it just never... So it'll, like, have this catalyst at the start, and it'll just grab Moors the whole time. Not just most of the time, but all of the time. Which, actually, that could be... That's a useful cycle optimization tool. Very nice.
And since that you talked about the next blog post, I'm also interested in seeing it. It's about computation, I assume.
Welcome, Nightcap. Glad to have you with us. Alright, so let's have a look at 4th place. Dropping down to 411 cycles, we have Team 42. Interesting prediction. I bet every solution shown after this is slow. Interesting prediction. I'll keep that in mind when I read out 3rd place. Reading the notes. Theory min seems to be 19, but it juggles 12 waste in a 15 puzzle-esque nightmare. That's a reference, that reference is too much of a deep cut for me. I don't want to program a multi-thousand cycle tape, and I'm not even certain that I could solve all the problems needed to make 19 achievable in the first place. And there are quite a few problems.
It's not even multi-thousand.
Spoilers. Instead, this solution is wasteless, and this is the minimum possible wasteless area of 20. Either single input method needs a large glyph to make outputs possible, and would still make waste, so it was always going to be a 2-input solve. I think the cycles are decent, given that there can only be one arm to do this approach in 20 area. It starts off by making a permanent fire catalyst. Let me just hit play again. And then finding the appropriate positions for the other 2 atoms to enter its 200 cycle, 3 output steady state. So again, the initialization being used to get the cycle count down very smartly here. The title implies that this is the best 20 area solution. The winning solve is probably 19, and 19 will have thousands of cycles. Would be neat to be right, but I probably am not. I I do like this initialization arm. It just means you just set up the saltpeter at the start, and then you never have to grab saltpeter. And you can just kind of, I don't know, that makes the cycles optimization space simpler, so you can focus a bit more on where your regrabs are and trying to cut everything down. It also uses the method that Spiritual Shampoo found for bonding the Moors and outputting real quickly. So there's that being made use of as well. Everything is just kind of neat here. Yeah, you can kind of... There is this one Moors that just rests on the debonder. You can also place something on the triplex glyph and have an atom or two rest there while bonds are being made. So there's a lot of, I don't know, subtlety to this, to why this is as quick as it is here. It's very nicely ordered. Icelandic lava salt. The Icelandic lava salt was great. Alright. So, in third place, at 20 area, 378 cycles. So no, Biggie was wrong. It is, Team Still Not a Jasper. Alright, so let's have a look at the notes of this one. And they're written by Kazian. With Team Still Not a Jasper being a team of Kazian and Hello Jasper. My correspondent was the one to wise up and demonstrate that 1 unit of saltpeter and 3 units of charred sulfur can yield a wasteless machine requiring a mere 20 tiles. I could not find a reason that in principle a wasteful 19 tile machine would be impossible, but we did not seriously pursue more than one night of attempting to draft it. Vitae is such a strange atom to choke the life out of a machine. Actually, ironic remark there, because theoretically possible 19 area can be either Vitae waste or salt waste. This layout was chosen for its ease of duplication. Despite lack of access, the glyph of duplication plays well, sitting well out of the way of charred sulfur manipulation. The output glyph, glyph of bonding, and glyph of triplex bonding form a spacious staging area, allowing intermediates to be tumbled and bonded quickly. Which is, yeah, something I've just been kind of expressing, but in different words. Having this, like, space to work with and swing around here. And this solution title also references that it's pretty spacious. You can do a couple of lengths 2 swings here. Further, the piston need not fully retract when moving between stations, saving many repetitions of retraction and extension. Alchemist Kazian in correspondence with Alchemist Jasper. So I really like how this is laid out. The last couple of 20 area solves we had were both both made use of initialization to cut the cycle count down. This goes back from initialization. So we're no longer in initialization territory, but a lot more consideration has been given to where the glyphs are placed and how they kind of play against each other and what that means for the piston arm. I noticed access was mentioned in the notes here, which I don't think I've been mentioning much to this point, but it is important when your piston is not on a track. You do need to take careful consideration of where your access is. And so this solve is smart in that it uses the points that it can't access carefully, because here the non-access points are all just the output product, which you only ever really need 1 hex of access for. And the duplication glyph is kind of neatly placed. And other than that, you have full access to everything except for 1 of the triplex hexes, but you can play around that easily because you got the other 2 triplex hexes to access. And the length 2 swings do definitely save cycles.
Oh yeah, so basically all two length access points can be accessed by each other with like 2 swings.
Yeah, so you don't have to do extra retract. That saves doing a lot of retracting and extending. So it's really funny to see this kind of, yeah, after the 2 initialization solves that we saw. Could publish the notes. That's a good idea.
Yeah, you could just Kazan can post them in the chat, in the Discord chat, not here.
Is there going to be another one against the world? We don't have one planned for this year. I think I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those take a lot of planning in advance, and it would be cool to do another one. But we need like.
Maybe we can do an area one next time with Shadow Cluster.
Yeah, it basically only works if like a top solver comes forward. I guess I'm considered one of the better sum optimizers, so maybe I could do it, but I don't know. For Picometric, I could.
Weeklies game is the world.
We could do like we could combine our collective powers because Panic is also quite good at sum, and Bist and Haxton are very good.
It'll be mostly Haxton, I can assure you. Haxton's our main playtester.
Okay. Moving on to our top 2 though. In second place, at 19 area, 1,417 cycles, Calyresis.
Yeah, so not the thousands of cycles Biggie was predicting, but you know, it's 1,000 something.
I think a thing that Biggie might have missed when making that prediction is that it only gets really slow towards the end. The first few are actually pretty quick.
It's not thousands, it's just 1,000 plus.
So, yeah, so we have waste here. So, alright, so when talking about 19 area, so there are 2 19 area solves. They are both going to be this method of no duplicator, triplex, or animismus, just Bonder debonder, arm on a fair amount of track, and a lot of salt waste. That is how these 2 are going to work. The layout I'll go just as an aside. There's a layout I was toying with. I don't have it on this computer, but I'm going to try and replicate it. It was something like this. This would be like the other way to get 19 hexes. Oops, my bad. Would be like, have a piston on a 3-track. And anyway, I wanted to show this because it's amusing, because if this layout works, then we have ourselves a ridiculously difficult production puzzle, because this is one of the production shapes. If this was just the puzzle, that would be a monstrous... Anyway.
You can also replace animismus with one of the inputs and have an extra track. That's probably easier.
Well, that's what the 19 area solves do. But yeah, that changes your...
Yeah, but you can also do that for this.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, you could... Yeah, maybe find a shape that fits in a production... Yeah, that production puzzle.
Yeah, you just replace animismus with one of the other input and an extra track.
You do have to be careful with where you place the track and shit, though. I don't even know if this layout's a good layout, just for record. It was just the one I was staring at all week.
This one just looks nice.
Yeah, I was just staring at it all week. And, yeah, so this layout sucks because, not only do you have to... the animismus becomes an extra pain in the ass that you have to deal with, so... This is a 19, but it is not gonna be the 19s that were found. Which brings me...
Just don't animismus.
To Calyresis' solution. Alright, so let me read...
Area optimization.
Alright, so let me read the notes as this bad boy gets started. Also, there's the Rebix pivots making a return. Okay, 19 is min area. For the last product, there are 12 waste atoms, 4 atoms for the product, and an arm base, which requires 17 hexes. With a single arm, you need at least 2 empty hexes to move the product off of the bonder after the last outer bond is made. With 2 arms, it may be possible to only have 1 empty hex. I personally can't see it. I don't think that's right, but, yeah, yeah, it seems harder, but potentially much faster if it's possible. I'm pretty sure using both inputs is the best option. Using the Moore's input only requires a Burlo, which is much worse for area. Using the fire input only might work, but only allows for 3 track hexes to make space for anime and a calcifier. Managing the anime with only 2 free hexes also seems much harder. Also, that other method would have been funny because we have not seen the calcifier glyph at all to this point. I don't think we have. So yeah, there's still a fair amount of space to work with, but this solve is going to continue to get more and more claustrophobic. So we're only just past the halfway mark, and we've already outputted 4. We're about to output the 5th. So yeah, this is where it gets to the last, 600 cycles are purely the last one. At this point, even just grabbing a reagent becomes a pain in the ass. You also have to be careful. It's going to start getting to the point where you have to be careful what goes on the bonder, because you're going to need to have atoms on the bonder, which means you're going to need to start bonding more and more of it together. So that's a scary consideration when you're juggling this much waste with this little free space. So here we go. If I just pause it real quick, there are literally 2 hexes that are clear, and they're both on track at the moment. But yeah, that's what you have to work with. I do like how that's shuffled around, actually.
Good thing you do have a lot of track movement, though.
Yeah, I think that's why this is a better idea than the Anime 19 method, because you get more track, and it is so much nicer to work with. Okay, so we have the final bond, and we have to move everything. And yeah, so you could do a move, but designing it with these pivots in mind just kind of makes it a lot nicer.
Anyways, there we go.
So there is. That's one about. And it does. Actually did loop.
It loops. It's in the title. It loops.
Oh. I never read the title. Whoops. And yeah, just shoves it off.
Shoves it off and starts all over.
I really enjoy elephant mode on Fujitsu.
Elephants aren't usually known for their speed, but...
Alright.
A certain Italian elephant sure does like his speed.
Italian elephant. Sorry, Rebix Pivot was just the name I gave it. Just because Rebix did it earlier.
Elephant mode, the mode where the game slows down.
Alright.
Because it's
sorry.
CPU limited.
Yeah, it literally just runs the solution as fast as my CP will allow it.
I mean, it probably isn't reaching the limit, but it's just a very large number.
Actually, let me... what happens if I turn on Task Manager? How busy does it say my computer is? It doesn't say it's got my... Opus Magnum is currently eating 16% of my CPU when I run elephant mode. So it does slow down though here because the waste chain.
Oh yeah, let me explain the elephant stuff. Elephant mode is the fastest because there was a certain user by the name of IE that requested the super speed mod.
Yeah, and his profile picture is an elephant. So
Yeah.
the idea is that mode was specifically made for him because he wanted it and requested it, and so now it gets to be an elephant.
It used to be a secret mode with the slider too, but you know, we didn't do the slider.
Slider doesn't work well with zoom mod.
Yeah.
Alright, so there's one of our 19 area solutions. So I want to talk a bit before we show Gecko's solution. Gecko's first submission was a 23. They then submitted a 22, and then another 22, and then a 21, and then a 20, and then only then submitted a 19. The first 19 submitted was exactly one cycle slower than Cali Recess's. Gecko then took off another, like, what, 141?
Just a few hundred.
It's, sorry, no, yeah, it took off 141 cycles later. We finally have Gecko's winning solve. Congratulations, you thoroughly deserved it this week, Gecko. Also, if cost was the tiebreaker, it would have won anyway because Gecko decided to flex on us with a equilibrium glyph.
Who needs the equilibrium? I mean, that doesn't look like a particularly useful place to put a track either. What are you gonna do behind the input?
Okay, so this one has a lot of notes, but I'm going to try and make an effort to read all of it, because I think, you know, it's the winning solve, gives us a lot of time, because it does break down some of the design constraints that you need to answer when you go for 19. So the main constraint is that you'll end up with 12 waste. I didn't know if the best solution would have just the red region or both until I made the final layout decision. The waste is 12 either way, so the limiting factor was how I make the output and give myself space to work. I found that it was helpful to think about the empty spaces rather than the spaces with waste. There are only 2 empty spaces after the last input spawns, so it's easy to just keep track of those. Because of this, there's only 2 valid last moves. Either pivot the product from either fire, or slide it in the direction that only takes up 2 hexes. Keep in mind that if we're sliding it to the output, all hexes of track must contain waste. So the arm is completely trapped and needs to push or pull the output. That really restricts your options. So pivoting the product consistently felt like the right choice. I had to enumerate all layouts with the final rotation in mind to find the one that would work. Another might have worked, but this was the most promising and had the most degrees of freedom, being able to place the debonder and second input wherever I wanted. In general, after the last input spawns, the only way the arm can move is if one of the empty spaces is on a track hex. Pivoting the product is great because it only requires 1 hex of empty space for the product to move into, meaning the other empty space can be on a track hex, allowing for arm movement. There's a few big roadblocks to a 19 area that could have caused people to miss it. One, the bonder is a pain, because if there is a waste atom on one side of it, you can't place an atom on the other side without bonding them together, which usually made the situation more painful. Once you bond the final part of the output on, you need to get one more bond on. I solved this by prioritizing, and this is by no means required, but prioritizing a set of pivots that keep the bonder entirely covered until the final pivots and drop. 2, sometimes an action required both hexes of empty space to be not on track hexes, meaning the arm needed to be completely trapped sometimes. Figuring out how to get the arm to trap itself while being in the right position to do the work it needed and then freeing up the space it needed was a challenge. And you can see I solved that with a bonded waste pivot. Cycles, who knows. Also, I'm pretty sure this one does not loop. So let me just... I'm going to elephant mode it to, like... Whoops. Alright, elephant mode was a little too quick. Alright, there we go. let me just, so the lessons from my other solutions, as we said, Gecko iterated a lot here, and he mentions that being helpful when constructing this 19. The input and debonder could be set up in another way, and the equilibrium glyph could also be moved or turned into track. I think they're currently in pretty fast positions though. The reason I think I did well on this puzzle, I like area puzzles, but struggle with programming long tape loops, thank you OM clone, and with visualizing the area of large swings, which is not relevant to this puzzle. I also really enjoyed this puzzle, so worked hard on it. I'm also really good at finding out how to reduce the amount of stuff I need to keep in my brain at once, which worked really well for this puzzle. For example, I thought about the 2 empty spaces instead of all the waste atoms, which honestly, when I was trying to think about 19 area, when I was doing that weird anime idea with the Vitae waste, I was not thinking about 2 hexes of space. I was thinking about the 12 waste, which was why I legit wasn't sure if we were going to see a 19 at all. Anyway, back to the notes. There also was a lot of working backwards. Start by thinking about the most constrained part of the solution first, which I think is a must if you're going to get 19. So anyway, those are the notes. I thought those were super interesting notes and well deserved. If you're going to take out the W, I think you're going to get all your notes read. Alright. I'll just let this play out at normal speed. We'll see if the final bonds are done in a similar way to how Caliuresis did it or not. I'm gonna go ahead and guess yes, it is similar.
It's got slightly different access points.
Yeah, it is slightly different, but there's, yeah, a lot of similar ideas that I think both solutions share. And yeah, the kind of arm kind of has to take care not to trap itself or make too many bonds with waste. So yeah, that was area. I thought that was I bet. I saw cycles being.
Cycles area metric.
Yeah, I saw cycles being referred to as the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
So we did briefly touch on it, but we in the weekly crew fucked up the cycles math. The intention. Yeah, the intention was for each individual regent to be possible in 32 and the double regent to be possible at 16, which gave you the same primary. But then it turns out you can do both individual inputs at 31, and you can almost do both at 15, which would have been cool anyway, but I think Biggie has a pretty compelling geometric proof for why it's not possible. We just kind of fucked up the single atom calculations. I think we spent most of our time trying to calculate the double regent calculation, and we were kind of focused on that. So when I or someone declared that 32 was min, and we both just kind of, I think everyone else in the weekly chat took it on faith. So yeah, I know I feel very responsible for this fuck up, but I guess we can talk about how it played out when the solutions start appearing. So let me boot up my AHK.
I think we considered all of those, Biggie. We're just bad at math.
No, we missed pre-building and bond preserving.
Oh, we knew we could do pre-building.
I didn't.
Yeah, no, Haxton and I knew we could do pre-building. We were just bad at math.
Okay, well, I mean, for me it was the other way around. I missed pre-building and all that stuff.
Yeah, we knew we could do all of those. We also kind of didn't bother with the cycles calculations of 2 inputs because we were like, you know, anything that's gonna be faster than 16 is impressive anyways, so we didn't
Yeah.
spend that much time on 2 inputs.
I think I was the one that spent time trying to figure out 2 inputs. And I'm like, I don't know. I looked at it and went, I'm pretty sure 15's not happening here. It ended up not.
We definitely knew pre-building was possible with the... I mean, that's... is pre-building... Is it possible to get 32... But is it possible to get 32 without pre-building?
31, you mean? Or 32?
No, 32. 32, because we...
You don't need... I don't think you need pre-building for 32, no. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fire input doesn't need pre-building. I didn't think it needed pre-building.
Yeah, I think you consider pre-building, but we did the math wrong and assumed it was the same.
We kind of agreed without realizing why we were agreeing or why we were wrong. Alright.
And as for the Moors, we kind of just did it wrong.
Yeah, we just straight fucked up the Moors. There's no excuse for that one. That was bad.
There's probably some kind of overlap that you could have done at the same... Well, not overlap, there's probably some kind of things you can do at the same time that we didn't consider.
Yeah, I think for me, the bit I missed was just, you can just preserve bonds. It took Biggie 20 minutes. Okay, Cycles, man. I feel bad.
Yeah, but like, basically, well, we knew about bond preserving and all that because, you know, that's the whole thing behind transtonic. So we just did math wrong. We know about bond preserving. We know that exists. That's it. That's just transtonic. That's the whole puzzle. But,
I mean, yeah.
We just did our math wrong.
Alright, so I guess we'll start with, at 16th place, username voids speed solve.
Oh, right, yeah, the speed solves exist.
Speed solves exist. So this gives you a sense of, it is a pretty easy puzzle to speed solve, because you just get rid of the salt.
This one kind of does, wacky job at it, though.
Alright, so I'm checking my interface and yes, it did work properly. So you can see, because both regions we used, it actually comes up as 224 instead of 112, which is the cycle count. Alright. But yeah, no, it's very straightforward. It just debonds all the salt and then moves one of the Moors around to the other side.
Also, technically, I guess we didn't do the calculations wrong for 2 inputs, because, you know, we expected 16.
I think it was, honestly, I think I was heading into and thinking 16 probably, maybe there's like some wizard shit that gets you to 15, but no,
Yeah.
no. Actually, ironically, the problem with trying to get to 15 is the first input, sorry, the first output, not the last output. Because you just can't get the first output out quickly enough to allow for the rest to output in time for 15. Which I think is quite funny. It's usually the last output that's the problem, or the second last output that's the problem for cycles. But here, the first output is the limiting factor. Alright. Moving on to a crag score of 204. We have Cuckoo 52. Okay. There's a doings afoot. That is a big ass solve. Also, that track loop on the bottom is marvelous.
It's just even sort of.
Ah, yes. A Cuckoo 52 solution.
Oh, okay, it's still the last output that's the problem. The problem is the exact same as if you wanted to get a first. Oh, okay, it's just... the problem isn't necessarily the first output, it's just that the first output faces the same problem the last output does. Oh, this is awesome. Shit, yeah. Icelandic Icelandic lava salt moment.
I'm interested in how the output is gonna look. Oh, it's just gonna, yeah, attach waste like that. Well, not the output, the waste block, I suppose.
It does.
Army's reagents. You know, the thing above the tray over there to the left. It's not cycles times rate. That would be a mean metric.
No, yeah, the R stands for reagents. Yeah, I guess that's worth clarifying. Yeah, usually R is right, but here in the Opus Magnum community, we like overloading our letter acronyms.
Yeah, just like physics.
But yeah, this is, yeah, usually if you see an R, it's right. But no, cycles times rate would be weird and not make sense.
I mean, I'm kind of curious what that implies, though.
Cycles times rate. I guess it'd be like, I don't know, that'd be kind of cool because it would just be cycles, but it has to loop pretty well.
Yeah, basically.
Like, yeah, I don't know. Min rate as a constraint, but the latency matters, I guess.
Yeah. It's probably just going to be rate with latency secondary.
Latency. Alright, that was rather hypnotic, but we will move on. Alright, in 14th place, with a score of 163, we have 7 T-Storm.
$163.
Yeah, 163. It's just, it is that small. Faster with 1 region instead of 2, says the notes. This is kind of, I'm getting a bit of a tonal whiplash considering the last solve.
Yeah. Was the last solve at max rate at least?
You know what metric we should have done for this puzzle? Tarkles.
Tarkles, oh no, not Tarkles. I know I started to Tarkles my beloved meme, but...
And I will continue it, because Tarkles is my beloved.
I know I came up with that metric, but you know. That is what I would consider one of the biggest mistakes in my tournament.
I think it was one of your best decisions.
Yeah, and y'all also hate AI, so.
Yeah, you like AI.
Yeah, it
Alright.
was fun when I did it.
Specifically, AI with waste sucks, if you ask me. I think AI without waste is actually quite fun. Infighting. Alright, time to declare war.
We have like fought over metrics during, well, not exactly fought over, we've discussed metrics.
We do have our disagreements.
Opposing, yeah.
There was the... Oh, actually, I remember week...
AGC this week.
Week 1, there was a bit of infighting, because I didn't like the puzzle very much.
I mean, it turned out nice.
It did, yeah. I guess I was pleasantly surprised by how many people are competent with overlap. I'll stand by. I still don't like the latency metric, but that's okay. It's history. Water under the bridge.
Yeah, but latency was just kind of there because, you know, what other metric are you gonna do?
Exactly. Alright. Moving on to the double digits. In 13th place, we jumped down to 40. By Please 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 LOL.
It's just a straight 40 with one input.
This gives me more of a rate solve vibe than a cycle solve, funnily enough.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just because it's like min rate, the latency's pretty sizable, but it is pulling the region every two. Also trackless. Is there a single pivot either? I don't see a pivot.
Trackless.
Trackless, pivotless.
Yeah. I'm wondering if they are like if it's possible to replace some of those one of those pistons with an arm without using extra area.
Would be funny if the Burlow was pivoting though. Does that work?
I'm pretty sure you can replace arm 26 with a piston with a track with an arm on the track on the other side.
Yeah, but then you'd have track.
Yes, but
The
that would be
solve's
better.
the solve's trackless.
Yes.
Yeah, we like it trackless. It's
Yeah, but it would be better in the metric with the track.
yeah, but screw that.
Yeah, but who cares about it?
Who cares about things like doing better or?
I mean, it's not like somebody is gonna lose to this, like beat this on a tertiary.
That would have been funny, but no one beat this on tertiary. Oh, by the way, yeah, no, this is a really good trackless cycle showing. Actually, I like it. We did actually have someone else submit a 40, but then they improved it to min. Moving on. In 12th place, with a Cycles Regent score of 36, we have Mad Monkey. Zoom out
Well,
again.
there's Fire Reagent.
Fire it, so we get to see the other region. That is nice. The notes read, scuffed as fuck.
Yeah.
There are 4 animismus glyphs. So, my understanding is that the fire agent is actually the harder one to cycle optimize, especially when we're talking about getting under 32. Because at that point, you're grabbing assault every 2, or yeah, at that, because you need to, because when you're going at min rate for this puzzle, you do need to calcify some of the fire, which means you're grabbing more than one salt every 2 cycles, which forces more than one animismus glyph. And that already, because area is the secondary, and another animismus glyph doesn't just mean another big chunky glyph, it means another like 2 or 3 or 4 arms to manipulate that animismus glyph as fast as it needs to go. Yeah, it's not too bad if you're sticking to 32, as Biggie says, but once you get under 32, it starts really mattering. I hope you people like anime, because this solve has plenty of it. I feel like an outlier when I say I don't enjoy anime. Like, actually talking about anime now. I know, like, everyone in my family watches it. Like most of my friends watch it. I don't do it.
I don't like watch a lot of it. I just watch some of it sometimes if it's recommended to me.
The last anime I enjoyed was fucking Dragon Ball Z when I was a kid. That said, I wanna go to pains to mention that doesn't mean I'm a disliker or anything. I think it's a perfectly valid kind of medium in its own right. And that it is probably worth watching, I just don't. No. I have other forms of art that I enjoy too much to bother opening up a new one. There are many reasons to not like anime.
I don't hate it per se, I just don't watch it often. I don't watch many movies often, many like films or...
See, I'm big on like, I watch a lot of like old films and shit. Like, those are one of the ones I enjoy. And it's like, I will do that instead of feeling the need to watch anime.
That's not even as many hours as Vicky has in Opus Magnum.
Bro, that's not even as many hours as I have in Opus Magnum. I'm clocking about 3,000 hours these days.
Damn.
Which is not as much as Biggie.
I stopped playing like Opus Magnum unmodded, so my hours are stuck at 570. But
That's still a bit lower than I was expecting, actually. 570.
yeah, because I haven't been. The last time I was actually solving puzzles was, you know, Panic Tourney, and before that was Rookie Tourney.
That's not even as many hours. Sure. That's not even as many hours as Biggie has in Universal Solvent.
But yeah, so I haven't been playing a lot of Opus Magnum, like actually solving. I've mostly been making puzzles, and ever since Mod came out, I basically never played it on modded anymore. Oh yeah, I basically did the whole Panic Tourney on like modded as well, so.
Alright. I think it's finally time to move on to 11th place. You people in chat are welcome to continue talking about anime, but in 11th place, we dropped down from 36 to 35 with Team Fiesta Land. Explosive Mess. Another fire region, and I think this might be the last one. I don't know that I could just be wrong about that, but I think this is the last time we'll see the this is the last time we'll see the saltpeter. Saltpeter is a very, very alchemy name for a thing, for a substance.
For a thing.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can dig up the notes, because the notes have just kind of been lost in translation. I'm gonna slow this down so I don't have to reset it quite so many times. Excuse me. Actually, I can zoom in. Alright, let's give you a good look. This is what happens when you shoot for min and run out of time. Everything explodes. We found the constraints on this puzzle quite challenging. The region may not be track looped, and the geometry... The region may not be track looped, and the geometry of outputting is very demanding. Let me hit replay. On top of that, you have to get mores in there somehow, and the number of glyphs quickly makes it difficult to reach anything. We explored at least 3 layouts extensively and found they all got gummed up as the cycle count rose. With the deadline looming, we sacrificed latency to get anything working. It's always time pressure. Time pressure is the biggest killer of an idea, I think. Because, like... I know, yeah. I've just seen it at both ends of the spectrum too much. Because you have, like... Take Area, for example. Gecko, like, started early, submitted often, and iterated often, and ended up winning. Despite the fact that they started at, like, 23 Area. But here, like, I don't know, yeah, that's how I usually kill myself whenever I'm participating in a tournament. I usually just... The reason I don't do better is because I don't give myself enough time. Alright, back to the notes. This one only uses its secondary fire pipeline once. In theory, that should only have to be used as the middle output of the final 3 products. So they can be dropped 2 or fewer cycles apart. Interestingly, this does final assembly in no fewer than 4 separate ways. That kind of disorganization is not what you normally want in your cycle solves, but this layout happened to be the one we could optimize the most before the deadline. I believe those were written by Kevalan. The notes are normally written by Fiesta, but there you go. Interesting. Sounds like they didn't consider the other input. I'm gonna hazard a guess. No, they did not consider the other input.
Probably just miscalculations all around. It's so easy to make miscalculations on this puzzle.
Which probably had a lot to do with the fact that they were constrained on time. If they were like taking their time a bit more, I can easily see them being like, "Oh wait, no, let's just use the other input." At some point.
Yeah, and I guess they were aiming for a 31, but like theoretically a 32. This wouldn't be that hard.
Because 31 with this region is just really hard. I do wonder if we'll see one at all. I think if we see one at all, it'll be coming up pretty soon. Because our top 10 are all at 31. Everyone who submitted from this point on saw right through our shoddy cycles calculation theory.
What?
Sorry about that, everyone. Starting at 10th place, at 215 area, we have Spiritual Shampoo.
No, Spiritual Shampoo, no, this is not. Yeah, it's Moore's input.
Yeah, it's gonna be, Moore's input. The next couple might have Moore's inputs, but if they don't, then we won't. Sorry, yeah, Spire inputs. But if they don't, then it'll be Moore's inputs from here on out. So, I guess we can talk about how the cycle optimizes the Moore's output. I mean, input. I'm getting my words fluffed today. Okay, so the main trick that us weekly hosts pretty much missed, well, I did, no, the other weekly hosts didn't, they just didn't math properly. I missed it, though, is that you can just, you can just, like, debond one of the Moorses, but then with this other Moors, you can just leave it attached to the salt, duplicate the salt into fire, and then just triplex bond it with another fire. Meanwhile, the other Moors goes on its kind of own little journey. You don't need all of the Moorses. So, once you debond this other Moors, you can just keep it that way. And then, yeah, get it bonded onto another half. So, you can basically split it up into halves after you've debonded one of the Moorses. Does that mean there were no Cycles playtests? No. No, there were not. I don't know, Bist and I were both like, yeah, let's area playtest, and no one kind of stepped up to playtest the cycle solves.
I don't think we actually finished any area playtest until we released the puzzle either.
No, I did a lot. I mean, because I was being a perfectionist and looked straight at 19. And I was looking at the harder 19, so I never finished it, but I did like a lot of staring at it and theoretical musing, and I feel like that helped me a lot, but even if I didn't have the solve. But no, I did not give cycles the same treatment.
What would we have done if we found out that cycles times reagent doesn't work anyways?
I could see us changing the reagents completely to try and make sure they did work.
Yeah, but then we have to change area.
Yeah. Would we have changed the metric?
Maybe.
Maybe we just would have changed it to a straight cycles puzzle and just be like, screw you guys, do both inputs. It would, because it was week 4.
Okay.
Maybe that is what we would have done.
Oh.
But you would have been like, it's a shame to get rid of the cycles times regents idea, because it was a cool idea. The execution was just a bit lacking.
Y'all might see this idea come back someday.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
There's a lot of actions that take 3 cycles for latency, so you'll mark my words, you'll probably see this idea again. Consumption glyphs take 3, triplex takes 3. You can also map things some other things out to be latency 3. Maybe just bonds.
Alright, moving on. We shoot down to 149 area with Team Saijondras. I can even zoom in a bit on this one. Okay, so no fire, no saltpeter, so I don't think we're going to be seeing any more saltpeter until the showcases anyway. So you can see this basically does what Spiritual Shampoos does, except there's only one pipeline. You really only need one pipeline. You just... Yeah, because what you can do is just bond the 2 halves together straight away. Take your first region and just get rid of one of the mores on that one, duplicate it. And then the other one can just bond straight on. You see one of the debonds is made while it's waiting for the other half. And then you just debond the other half. And then you just do triplex. I do still like our choice of area for this region. I do think that did kind of work out, because once you kind of figure out that these are all the steps you really need and you can do it this way, it kind of works out nicely and isn't too painful of a cycles puzzle. So, like, personally, I'm not, like, mortified by our mistake, because we had a lot of submissions for cycles anyway, and when people are just like, yeah, cycles ended up being pretty chill after all. It looked scary at first, but once you actually do theoretically working it out properly, yeah, it's kind of nice.
It's just cycles area.
Kazian pointing out a very unfortunate hex arm, though. That is chewing through the area count.
I hope you all enjoyed your cycles area puzzle.
Nice, normal, not too difficult, traditional cycles area puzzle.
By the way, remember when I accidentally said cycles area for whatever puzzle before?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, no, that's this puzzle.
Yeah. Damn, 5 AM. Jesus. Thank you for joining us this late. That is a proper commitment. It'd be 5 AM in, like, somewhere in the middle of Europe, probably.
No, Europe is like -6, so that's 4. Well, East Europe, I guess.
Oh, actually, you're right. Yeah, it's 5. Yeah.
No, middle of Central Europe is 4 AM right now. Actually, 10 to 4 AM.
Yeah, but like East.
Yeah, it'd be Eastern Europe.
It's East Europe.
Yeah, okay.
East Europe is the 5 AM time zone right now.
Let me see.
I live in the 4 a.m. time zone. I should be asleep.
What time zone is Finland in?
Finland's... Oh, I think Finland might be in the 5 a.m. time zone. I couldn't guarantee you that, though. My geography's not that good.
Yeah, it is.
It is, there you go.
Well, almost 5 a.m. It's 4:50.
Yeah, approaching. Okay. I think that, yeah, I think that hex arm is really hurting because in 8th place, we jump all the way down to double digits. We shoot down to 82 area with teams still not a Jasper. And this looks more like it. Now I can even zoom in pretty much all the way.
Yeah, that's a Cycles area solved.
That's a Cycles area solve. Alright, reading the notes. Time zones and geography don't always correlate either. Fair point. It may be instructive to show how this transmutation was approached by an alchemist that is not an expert in cycles, but found min regardless. He didn't use the word min, but I am. In principle, both reagents could be used to create a 15 cycle machine given a tight atomic structure and perhaps advanced geometry. Using saltpeter alone could yield 31 cycles at best. For those with the gift of Hermes, the consideration is whether the 15 cycle machine is possible, because its penalties are steep for missing its minimum. Switching to saltpeter becomes tempting, but at my skill level, neither approach is tractable. Multiple pipelines? Animismus? No, let us accept that cycles will be lost. And then it turns out lucky anyway, because he didn't lose any cycles. Because the geometry for 15 ended up being a little too advanced, as in, can't really do it. But yeah, looking at just the theory and the numbers, you can't disprove 15. It has to be through geometry. Which, it might be in Biggie's notes or not, in which case I can still talk about it. So, going back to the notes real quick. Instead, 2 units of charred sulfur can be bundled into one intermediate relatively quickly, merging into a single pipeline quickly. Many of the inscrutable tools of cycle optimization suddenly become unnecessary. From there, all I must do is bond, debond, and output, though the track loop is demanding. Thankfully, one of the mandatory track advances can be made use of by back-to-back triplexes, and so useful work is done on every cycle of travel. By comparison, the waste management, area compaction, and gratuitous hex arms are comparatively simple. Alchemist Kazian in respondence with Alchemist Jasper. And I couldn't tell you who did more of the work here, but it sounded like this one was more of a Kazian effort. Also, I do quite like the hex arms as waste storage idea. I do wonder if we'll be seeing more of that. Because it is going to be difficult to get all your Moors waste in, like, just with a one disposal glyph. Oh, okay, both souls were Kazian. Okay, cool. Good job, Kazian. For what it's worth, I thought the CI metric worked as intended. 15 if you're good, 31 if you're not. Like there was still it was still pretty good, I think. Even if it was completely unintended. I think it did work out okay. It just ended up being kind of chill. Which is disappointing because it's week 4, but in any other week that would be perfectly okay to have it about this chill. The area count goes down pretty far from here though.
I'm gonna check how our area count goes. 1/8. Yeah, it goes.
It goes. So to start with, we're going to cut 5 hexes with Spect 98. It was a name I wasn't actually expecting to see pop up, but Spect was a late submission, so I think Spect wasn't gonna submit, and then they noticed that, oh, actually it's just a pretty chill 31 if you just use the charred sulfur.
Oh, nice. It's using the disposal area.
Yeah, that probably takes the 5 hexes right there. It is actually just using disposal. And it loops, so I don't have to hit reset. So yeah, so it does this kind of nicely. So it does sacrifice a bit of area in terms of swing space because it is swinging around a 6-atom molecule with a length 3 arm. So that will eat up some swing space. But the benefit is you can have this debonding station towards the end here, debond both Moors at the same time, and you're able to fit all the Moors into a disposal glyph, which kind of, yeah, aims to make up for it. All the solves so far, well, all the min solves so far, except for maybe Spiritual Shampoos, had this theme going of having one important track loop in the middle, and just having arms at the various debonding stations sort out the waste. Also, this one makes good use of having a Burlo wheel on a track. Also worth mentioning. So yeah, I mean, yeah, all the space is used pretty orderly. I guess in terms of optimization though, there is a lot of hexes being swung over in terms of swing space. But making it further compact from here is definitely far from trivial. So we'll see how that gets sorted out. Possibly there might be an idea of trying to use less than 3 triplex glyphs. That could be an idea. Alright. Moving on, we go down just the 1 hex for now. At 76 area, we have Witch Push. Alright, so this is going to be pretty much the same method as Spec 98's. There is 1 hex where the Burlo on the track kind of clips the main track loop, which bizarrely is the exact same shape as Spec 98's track loop. So this solve is eerily similar to Spec 98's.
Yeah, that even use the same method for assembly.
Yeah, same assembly method. Yeah, exactly. Does everything the same. It does use a multi-arm, so it does swing over a bit more. So that's probably the main point of difference, really. It does a bit more swinging before it actually bonds together. And it bonds together using triplex, which I'm not sure the other one did. Yeah, the other one had triplex last. This one does triplex first. Doesn't end up mattering all that much. So this one kind of swings it kind of swings less across 360 degrees, but where it does swing here, it clips a few more hexes, which is kind of why it's almost identical to Spec 98's. Alright. It is very similar solve though, so I will move on. Jumping down to 69 area. We have Ebonov.
Nice.
Tragically, it costs 430G. I would have declared it solve of the week if it was 420, but unfortunately it is not. Alright, reading the notes. This is the part of Fulmination LGI I enjoyed doing. Few moving parts through many glyphs. The other part is Animismus, which I chose to not work with this time. Thank you for making that option available. At 75 area, I tried swinging the other way, starting from a handing off at Burlo. Also, I can hear a lot of typing in the background. It appeared tempting that I might save area by resetting over Burlo, but it ended up larger. 76 area, 390G. Due to Moore's shedding has to happen later and causing disposal to not fit snugly. It did find me this 16 cycle, 4 arm, 5 track loop, where I have just enough time to reset force swing the long way back after a pivot, which is important for saving area, so it doesn't like have to swing over heaps of empty hexes. I also like that 3-track 3-arm loop at 12 cycles is made impossible because it mandates the last movement before dropping to be a slide, which can't happen. Oh wait, it actually can if Moore's shedding happens last. Alas, I'm out of alchemy station time. And then the rest of the notes dictates why they think 15 cycles with both regions is impossible. So I won't go through that right now.
Reasons?
Yeah, reasons. Alright, so same thing. It deals with normal bonding first. It uses 2 triplex glyphs instead of 3, so it doesn't have to swing nearly as far. And as mentioned in the notes, it doesn't have to use any of this to swing back because it just barely makes it back in time, swinging it the long way around. Also, the Moors squeezing into that disposal looks pretty tight geometrically. Yeah, I'm staring at that disposal glyph and how the Moors is handled into that. It is nice, much like the area count. Alright. We're in top 5 territory now, though. Going down a single hex, we have Faindir with Merry Go 3. Same track loop shape as Ebenov. Alright, so interesting combination of disposal and hex arm storage. The hex arm is good. You only need one of them. It does mean I'm going to have to reset this manually, but also clever to use the hex arm to move the molecule itself as it debonds and stores. I think that's pretty cute. And it also means you don't have to swing as big of a region around. Here it only has to do this one swing with a 5-atom molecule. Debonds the other one. A bit of a shame it can't store the rest of the Moors on a hex arm because of the unfortunate placement of that Moor's waste. So you do need the disposal glyph for the other one. But nevertheless, it does save a lot of swing space. Also making sure to cut out a one of the triplex bonds, which is also nice. And then crashes immediately after. Also, Faindir, I noticed in chat you use the phrase "our solve." Were you part of a team this week and I wasn't aware? I'd feel bad for not including this as a team effort. Let me know if it's a team effort.
5x.
Oh, okay.
Is there a Rebex submission?
Rebix submitted for error.
Oh, there is a Rebex submission for this metric, so
yeah,
I guess it didn't matter.
Yeah, I guess it. Yeah.
Wise.
I probably should have kept in Team Fabix, but yeah, Rebix submitted for area, Faindir submitted for cycle, so there was a very clear division of labor. My bad. I'll just include you by default next week unless you mention otherwise. Can arm 8 be in the other spot to make that rotate, and would that save area? So yes, it can make that rotate, but no, it won't save area because as you can see, this hex is clipped anyway. So none of this area is area that wasn't already being used. It does kind of look nicer there, though. It kind of looks more squeezed in, but no, it doesn't actually help. Alright, moving on. We enter top 3 territory. So, cutting 4 hexes off this, we have Calyresis, who did in fact get a cost of 420. So that much is nice. Pretty cramped here. Only only 2 length 3 arms. My bad. There's a second length 3 arm that handles the input. Incredibly cramped glyph placement. My god. Reading the notes, 15 cycles using both inputs is possible operations-wise, but I couldn't find the geometry that makes it work. The last 2 Moors must come from the 5th Moor's input, and they both must have 4 latency. This requires bonding one Moors to the Fire Stick while debonding the other, which means the debonded Moors needs to travel from one side of the Fire Stick to the other in a single region without colliding. And yeah, these are basically the notes that Biggie had, so I'll be keen to kind of, I don't know, there's a picture I can show that Biggie sent me that kind of helps explain what Calyresis means here. Or maybe I'll save it for Team 42 solve, just in case. But yeah, I believe Calyresis is right here. There is excess solve from the 4th set of inputs, but it has too much latency to be useful. 31 cycles with a single input is possible using either region, but the fire input requires buffering, which seems harder and less area efficient. So as for the solve itself, very cramped placement of the debonders in particular. I really like this movement here. After it bonds, making use of that single bonder, which is surrounded by 4 debonders. I really like, I don't know. I haven't seen a pivot that stood out to me, but that is definitely debond of the week. Oh, and it does, kind of interesting here to get the tape, and it does need to 6p it. It does loop, but it still needs to 6p because this final swing, it's easier to just have this arm 12 handle it as a pivot so that the arms on the track loop can just reset in time to make it back. And so it has this loop while arm 12 pivots, but it is perfectly okay, just rotating it itself. That cuts latency, but it gives you a longer track reset, which is fine after you've hit the validation screen for cycles. Five track loop seems to be meta. So either 5 track loop or 6 track loop. Yeah, Gecko mentioning super impressive to get a 19 area and a podium. These podiums both, on this week, getting a podium on both metrics is a hell of an accomplishment. Also makes the Moors just kind of, it's handled pretty easily. I do like this, this cute little back and forth swing it does. Yeah, just to get this swing, just to make this swing possible of the soon-to-be black powder. It's kind of really super convenient how it's able to how it's able to squeeze in the duplicator and the first triplex glyph. Alright. Moving on to our top 2. So, it is between Bambi and Team 42. In second place, at 58 hexes, Bambi. So, no disposal glyph here. Very unique way of handling the Moor's Waste. Actually, this is really cool. Moor's Waste handling. So, it makes this 4 atoms stick and then just stores the other 2, like, literally. The last one can just stay on the debonder and the 5th one just goes on the track loop. Really trying to squeeze the Moors in as much as possible without needing to worry about a disposal. So it's almost the same idea as Calioresis, where it's a single bonder and it is nearly surrounded by debonders. It's not completely surrounded by debonders though. And you can, yeah, it kind of tries to swing the full molecule very sparingly. It only swings it at the very end here, because that's where, you know, you need to really get it into the entire... Because, yeah, you can't slide the black powder into the product hole. It needs to be swung, so that's a forced swing. So that is the only swing it will do after the whole thing is bonded together. And this is just a really funny shape, and it is kind of convenient that it never seems to collide. The black powder never seems to actually touch the bonder glyph, so you can get away with this weird pivoting thing. Yeah, Calioresis mentioning the reused debonder kind of coming in clutch here. You can see, yeah. So similar idea, I think. I think it was Faindeer that had. Was it Faindeer? Am I remembering correctly? Yeah, I think it was Faindeer who had the idea where the hex arm also handles waste. Here it is also reusing a debonder, as Calioresis mentioned. Also a significantly longer track loop than we've seen up to this point. That is the longest track loop I think we've had so far for Crag. Crag. Yeah. Very ugly sounding word.
Well, you're going to see a much longer track loop, but that won't be in this meta.
That will not be for Crag.
Or maybe it will, I don't know.
Oh,
There's almost solution left.
imagine Team 42 has this like humongous track loop. That'd be funny.
Oh, hi Grimmy. There is no 30s. Yeah.
Yeah, 15 cycles.
30 has been proven impossible.
15 cycles is impossible. Yeah, not in terms of operational requirements, but geometrically. I'm gonna see if I can get him. Let's see if this works before I post it into the Twitch chat.
How the hell do you get 25 C1 reagent for me?
Oh yeah, easy.
Overlap or something?
Alright, so let me just double check. Yeah, so that's the relevant image that Biggie sent. If you guys want to have a look at the image, the problem is that Moore's being held by arm 1 has to get all the way over to the other side of the triplex fire in one cycle, and then you output in the very next cycle. And for 15 to be possible, you need to do that, and I'm pretty sure there is no way of avoiding that situation. Which tells me 15 cycles is geometrically impossible.
I'm curious what 25C1 reagent is supposed to be.
I think that was Grimmy shitposting.
Is that shitposting or?
That's shitpost. Sure, that's shit. Come on. Has to be shitposting.
Probably is.
I don't know. I'm not.
But the shitpost Grimmy's been doing this week is 0 reagents.
Actually, so hold up. I was gonna show Team 42 solution, but the title of this solve references a nutty pivot, so I'm looking for pivot of the week here. I think it's the pivot that Arm 3 does, the multi-arm. So if you guys are looking for a pivot of the week, Arm 3. Yeah, I'm happy to declare that pivot of the week. That's a good pivot. Alright. For real though, Team 42, who won by a single hex?
Apparently Grimmy did miscalculations.
N equals 12, n does not equal 9. Or 13, if you're doing it with fire, yeah. So Rubik's N stands for the number of regents you need to solve the puzzle to hit the validation screen. So, in this case, for this solve, there are 12 regents being grabbed. So 12 of the charred sulfur. This gets grabbed 12 times, and that's kind of a minimum, at least for this method. So that's what is meant by n equals 12. Okay, so we're seeing in this solve the same kind of clutch pivot that, the same clutch pivot that Bambi had, except it's not quite as cool because it isn't with the multi-arm waste storage, so I think that one gets to keep pivot of the week. Other than that, a lot of sliding. We're seeing the debonder being reused yet again in exactly the same way Bambi did it. Seeing it slides yet again. It does a very economical slide, so it handles its Moore's waste differently, and that's where the singular hex comes from.
That swing on arm 12 though.
Oh, that is a really cool swing. Yo.
I didn't know you could swing through a free tractor with 3 arms on it.
Can I declare a rotate of the week? Yeah, that. I think that's worth the 1 hex right there. That swing. That's such a clutch swing. Because I believe the hex that Arm 13 sits on would have been used anyway, because that's the largest swing of you get to see in the puzzle. Yeah, it's really close between second and first, but I think just the way Team 42 was able to nestle in the disposal glyph just barely won it out. I'll have a look at the notes though. There are a fair amount of notes. Quote-unquote theorem in cycles times regions with massive air quotes is 30 by using both regions and getting 15, but I was able to convince myself a 2-region 15 is impossible if a 7 latency solve is impossible, and that a 7 latency solve is in fact impossible. It's a geometric argument. All the glyphs can actually exist, but the motion between cycle 3 and 4 has no solution. It's the PNG I shared. Sorry if you're on YouTube, I might edit the video to just have a picture of the image, but if I don't, sorry. So the next best thing is a tight 31 with 1 input, and both inputs in isolation have a theory min of 31. In this way, the puzzle was well calculated. Imagine calculating your puzzles. The Moore's input 31 is easier than the fire input 31. I made a 32 with the fire input that doesn't do any pre-building, but it would balloon the area to try to do pre-building to hit the theory min. And it was already the larger of the two first day solutions, even at 32. Over the course of the week, we made a nice C brackets GA unbracket Pareto Frontier. So a GA Pareto Frontier assuming min cycles. On this input at 31 cycles, starting at 73 area, 305 costs to this solve. Title is black box because the solution is rather rectangular, has waste mores, and is doing things. 31 requires 6 actions without a handoff, which is why we've been seeing so many interesting track loops. I permuted those actions as much as I could when exploring the search space and determined that this track loop on the left was the best area result possible. Faindir did call that the method track loop, or whatever he described that track loop as, but that was meant to be the play, the 5 hex track loop. Everything else fits into it as well as I could, basically. If this gets beaten on area secondary, I'll be surprised, and if it gets beaten on primary, I'll eat a tissue. Damn it! Finally got a tissue bet that Biggie agreed to, and it's impossible.
I mean, she did prove it impossible first, so...
I mean...
Proofs aren't always complete, but...
Well, yeah, because it's a geometric proof, so you're never going to be quite satisfied until you see everyone else come to that same conclusion. Just because you're like, is there some fucking 4D trick I'm missing? But no, there is no 4D trick to be missed here. I'm pretty sure you just can't get a 15.
It's like that one time I found the geometric proof for one min cost puzzle. Like one of the campaign puzzles, I think, and I think it was a genre puzzle.
Well, yeah, I remember there's a very basic.
And then I wanted to apply to like a bunch of the other ones that run admin.
A very
proven, and it didn't because of some stupidity.
There was, yeah, a very basic example is Surrender Flare cost. Access-wise, there's nothing that stops you from not using track, but the geometry is literally impossible because you can't bond. You can't get that salt bonded back on to the Surrender. Oh, maybe it's not Surrender Flare. I think it's Water Purifier. I think. But yeah, Water Purifier. You can't get all the bonds onto the bondar without making a wrong bond, and that is a geometric proof. But it is like rock solid theory. You can't do Water Purifier at min cost without a track loop. I mean, without track. Obviously, you can do it without looping.
I forgot which one the one was that like.
Was it a production cost puzzle?
No, it was a infinite product cost puzzle.
Oh, okay.
It was like zigzag one.
Oh, okay. You didn't avoid mentioning you can, but I think you need like an extra bonder or extra debonder or something.
Oh yeah, it's very dark thread cost. That's important.
Oh yeah, that's the one you did.
To make the Z shape thing you can't extend.
Yeah, that's the one you did. Yeah, that's right.
And then I was like, this also applies to like other things, and then you were like, no, it doesn't.
I wrote a proof for what was the puzzle? I wrote a geometric proof for buoyant cable min cost, proving that you can't do it in 40G. I'm not sure if it was ever formally accepted, but it was never.
I think buoyant cable and lubricating filament are both like that.
Pretty much, yeah. They're 2 peas in a pod. Those puzzles. I'm not sure if the proof was ever formally accepted, but it was like, yeah, pretty sure that's right. But stating it formally ends up being a huge pain in the ass. Anyway, so well done, Team 42. Shit, sorry about that. Well done, Team 42. Congrats on the W. That brings us to next week's puzzle.
Ready to send it?
Do you want to do the honors or do you want me to?
I mean, you're gonna have to review it on stream.
Obviously, I'll reveal it on stream.
Yeah, no, I have it ready here.
Yeah, okay. Let me just download it first.
Okay.
Alright. Okay,
Ready?
I'm ready. The puzzle
Three,
is
2, 1, go.
go. Eye drops of irritation is the name of the puzzle. So this is actually my puzzle. The metrics.
Flex puzzle.
The metrics are
Spicy.
the metric. Yeah. So as I said, this is a spicy puzzle. I meant that literally. I think it's a pretty nice puzzle, actually. The metrics are going to be sum and height. Those are your two metrics. Nothing too silly. We've had quite a few experimental weeks. This is not going to be one of those weeks.
Height cycles.
Can't quite. Oh well, that's good enough. I think it's like that on the webpage. Yeah, there we go. There you go, actually recreated the webpage image for once.
Yeah, because you made it. I think. I forgot. But yeah, here's the puzzle. With amazing lore written by Zorflax.
Oh, you are very welcome, yes. Yeah, I put lots of effort into I didn't put lots of effort into the lore.
It's still nice, it's funny.
Well, I feel like if I'm making a puzzle, even if it's just like a throwaway line or two, it's better than nothing. So
Yeah.
and that's often just like good enough for a weeklies. There's one puzzle.
Most of them are like that. Let me see the other ones.
Yeah, most mostly like
we
that.
ignore Transtonic, that one has a long one. Transtonic actually has a long description.
Oh, wait, I don't think Biggie can speed solve this week because they're not at their Opus Magnum computer. So yeah, no, she's not available to speed solve. So the field is open for username Void to claim the win. I had a lot of fun with this puzzle on some in particular. I'm looking forward to seeing what my fellow Sum mains can handle. Also, I have a pretty competitive solve this week. I don't think it's going to be a zeroth place solve, but it's pretty good. I'm keen to see how it stacks up and what kind of cool ideas. I'm keen to see it get beaten, because if it gets beaten, the solves that beat it are going to look really cool. And if it doesn't get beaten, then more power to me.
I mean, to be fair, Kelly Reese says a lot of organic molecules look like fish.
Pepper spray particles are tiny fish.
Yeah, the reason it hurts is because it swims into your eyes.
I was very attached to the fish shape of this puzzle. So I was trying to make sure to design around that.
Yeah, but we convinced you otherwise on the input, which used to be 6 atoms long.
Oh yeah, I had a 6 atom input. I'll admit you guys were completely right on that one. You talked me out of it. That was a good idea. The idea would have been have it like that and have like
that repeating again.
Yeah, it wouldn't have. It would have been like. Oh, I would have like. It was like jumbled. Yeah, it was like fire, air, water, or like. I think I had it jumbled up.
Fire, air, water, fire, air, water.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that. Yeah. Which also would have been painful, but a very completely different type of painful. Alright. I guess I won't talk too much on the puzzle. I'll save that for when we do next week's results stream. I'm keen to have a look through all your solutions.
I don't think I'll be hopping off here.
Sorry?
I think I'll be hopping off here.
Okay, fair enough.
Y'all enjoy your showcase puzzles. I'll see y'all.
See ya. Oh man, we have a lot of 3i solves. Good lord. We have 6 3i solves that I can count.
Alright, secret metric this week.
Yeah, so bonus third metric was instructions. I don't think we'll start with it though, because most of the other solves come first, interestingly. So Bambi hits us first with a solve titled Misunderstood Metric. Oh, so the notes here are pretty interesting. I may have spent 6 days thinking regents refer to the total number of inputs pulled, rather than the number of input glyphs placed. This solution is the final result of that misconception, using 8 inputs and solving in 20 cycles for a quote-unquote primary score of 160. Should have just done that. Interestingly, there are 2 very different recipes that lead to a low score in this new metric. If we use 5 Moore's inputs and 4 fire inputs, the theoretical cycles limit is 17, resulting in a score of 153. After a lot, in brackets, really a lot, of effort, I made some very promising half solutions, but I couldn't quite get the pipelines to unite properly. The fact that Bambi still got second after 6 days of wasted effort is insane. Good lord. But I couldn't quite get the pipelines to unite properly. Although the latency needs to be near perfect at almost every stage, I think 17 cycles is possible. The other recipe uses 6 Moore's inputs and 2 fire inputs. 20 is the lowest possible cycle count in my estimation, which this solution achieves. My solution for the real metric was thankfully only a minor modification of this solution. Oh, you poor soul, Bambi. That leads to Bambi's other showcase, which is Misunderstood Metric Part 2, which I think is the other method of doing this. This is an older version of my other showcase solve that uses some really cool wanding tech to reroute 2 of the outputs in the right pipeline, allowing the trapezoid track to be in the swing path of the penultimate object. So to answer Bist's question about what should we have done if we had, like, found out that we miscalculated this metric, we should have done what Bambi thought it was, and cycles times the number of regions you actually pull. I'm kind of mad we didn't do this now. This would have been a perfect week 4 cursed metric. Damn. Oh well.
What?
Huh?
What? It is what it is.
It is what it is. Bambi is right about the wanding though. It is pretty dope wanding. Yeah, it poses if you do it by number of regions pulled, it poses a really interesting pipeline question, and damn it, now I'm mad. We completely missed this idea. Thanks. That was genuinely very interesting, Bambi. Thank you for that. All right. Our next submitter is Random Guest with a grab, pivot, drop solution. Not a rotate to be seen, just pivots living in the moment. Also, they're Steven pistons.
I don't think they're on track. They're not Steven Pistons.
Do they have to be on track to be a Steven piston? No.
I mean,
No, I don't think they have to be on track to be a Steven piston.
I think they should be on one track purpose.
That would have been funny. I don't think that's a requirement, but that does help. I'll grant you that helps. The notes read, "Pistons are good at many things, but this is their true purpose." Bro, look at that cuprite ass shape. That is an actual cuprite. That's amazing. The fucking cuprite intermediary on a pivot-only solution. That is actually a genius idea. Hindsight is 2020. I really like this shape too. Just quietly, this like this fan shape, this triple fan shape kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a new shape.
It's the Mitsubishi shape. There we go.
That has me wondering, actually, can you beat the entire game with only using pivots?
Nah, because consumption glyphs wouldn't be able to work. Like, try to purified gold pivot only. That's a big thonk. Mitsubishi symbol into cuprite into black powder.
Alright, so what's the next less useful instruction? Is it possible to solve the entire game using only W?
Oh, is it possible to... Yeah, using... I know, Cuckoo52 has an amazing series where he does grab retract-only solutions. So he's done a remarkable amount of puzzles that are like that are just like FSR all over the place. You can do an astounding amount of puzzles like that. I don't think you can do all of them like that though, sadly. And I will again point to purified gold. I don't think you can do purified gold like that. Because the problem is, because you need to grab so much goddamn lead, you just run out of arms to be like grabbing the reagent. Because if I'm doing retract only, the problem is there are only so many arms that I can grab with.
I mean, right? You can grab each reagent, what, 12 times?
Something like that?
I mean, in theory you can grab it 12 times and move it onto one spot, but it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can get each reagent 6 times though, if you want to put them into, if you just dump them straight in. So that would be 6 times 4 lead.
So you need to...
Actually, no,
see, in purified gold...
You can get 48 lead. Oh, wait, not 48.
In purified gold, to solve the puzzle, I think you need to grab each... You need to grab each lead, at least... I think it's like 42 times. No, wait, 48 times. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, you're not no. Yeah, it's not happening. Yeah. You need to grab each input 48 times to solve purified gold. So there you go. So you can't do the whole campaign, but you can do like fucking half the campaign.
Can you get more grabs with W?
I do not know.
You can get... wait.
No, maybe you can only do 12 there as well. I don't know. Alright, gonna boot up the next showcase while we mull that over. It is submitted by Biggie. I'm seeing 20 cycles as well, so I wonder if this is also what Bambi did. No.
You can get 12 out of W as well.
Okay, so it's the same. So
I mean, you can get at least 12. I was wondering if you get more.
okay, so the notes read, on day 1 I cranked out a 31 for the Moors and a 32 for the Fire, which is non-pre-building min. I figured I would merge them together for a nice looking solution, even though the theory on 2 inputs is very different. So this is, yeah, there you go, this is the third, so, if we just like, honestly, if I delete this, I legit might just delete that. There we go. This is a 31. This is what a fire input 31 should look like. So if I like, yeah, well, it had 32 there. Okay, it is 32, which is non-pre-building min. Alright, so this is, I lied. This is, not min, but it is a 32, which we did not see in the metric itself, so... It's a very different challenge. You need... Yeah, I think the main problem with this idea was that you need a lot of animismus glyphs, and it gets even worse when you also need pre-building. Also, there is a length 3 multi-arm smack in the middle of that, which is awesome. But yeah, the latency, because it's more of a pain in the ass, because there's more of a latency requirement on the Moors, which is why pre-building needs to be a thing. So you can see, you need to like debond twice. And then, if you're using fire, you need to calcify as well. And then you activate animismus. And then you need to bond Moors twice. So, yeah, to get min, pre-building is a must. And... yeah, I'm just looking at it. It seems like a huge pain in the ass. I can easily see why no one did it. And why people were thankful we didn't force it. Alright. Next
up, the fun part.
Well... if you mean am-arms is fun, then yes. But no, this will be this is Biggie's am-arms solve. Area minus arms. Let's have a look at the notes here. The theory min-area solution juggles 12 waste. It takes 19 area to do this while also preventing accidental bonds. This is because you must move one thing at a time. Moving more than one thing at a time only starts to buy you a true area savings when you can move a set of atoms or molecules in a complete cycle, which by my estimation requires more than 2 arms. So while I expect the winning area solve is 19 minus 1 equals am-arms of 18, the true am-arms theory min is actually 17. I was able to make the final output at 17 am-arms in a test puzzle with scaffolding waste. Watch from cycle 208 to the end to see that here, which I would call the actually optimized portion of this solve. To make, we're not there yet. To make the rest of this, I made a faster program with the same arms, some upgraded to pistons for outputs 1 and 2, and then just used the final output programming for outputs 3 through to 6. I'm sure that if all 6 outputs were solved as optimally as possible, including adding arms in other places, it could go faster. Genius42 suggested the pacemaker as a solution title here because of the resemblance to a heart. So this is not supposed to be theory min for am-arms. Okay, so this is the part that I'm told to pay closer attention to. Yeah, you can see the problem here again is the bonder. I do wonder if there is a way to solve that problem at all at 17 am-arms or not. Kind of seems like there isn't.
In theory, there's supposed to be like a way to get one less.
Well, I think you can use the same proof that disproves 18 area in the normal puzzle to disprove 17 am-arms, because you need...
You mean 16 am-arms?
No, I mean 17 am-arms. Oh wait, is that what this is?
I bet you that's what this is.
No, sorry, this is 18. My bad. Sorry, I meant 17. Yeah, no, you were right. Yeah, yeah, so I think 17 am-arms is impossible for the same reason 18 area is impossible. Because I think you need to be able to completely clear the bonder. Because you are only using, well, it's not pivots in this case, except it is pivots when you're using the black powder itself.
Oh, so what is our secondary metric for the instructions category?
That's a good question. What's like the fairest one?
There's either IC or IG that I'm thinking of, which would make sense. IA is sort of weird.
We'll go cost. No, actually, well, it's actually kind of...
Like, cost rewards using less glyphs, just making something like smaller. Whereas cycles rewards if you're using like more products, like doing wood, like making things small as well.
So
like having a short track loop.
Alright, so
or if you have a long track loop, making multiple.
Alright, so actually it doesn't... Alright, so I'm looking at the solves. It doesn't matter what the secondary is. One solve wins all three.
That's not mine, is it?
No, it is not yours. Okay, so time for bonus third metric. I guess I'll just make like cost the secondary here. So starting at 370G we have Gecko. And I will turn off slower downer. In fact, I might speed it up. Actually, I'll go back to normal speed. Alright, so tell me about the instructions metric this week, Hitobi. What are the considerations here?
I mean, the considerations are... What are the considerations for instructions? Well, it's... So, having disposal is very important with free instructions. Obviously, the minimum instructions is free instructions, that is rather obvious. But having disposal is a very important thing here, because it allows you to drop things that, like, aren't the finished product. And that's, usually that's like the most important thing in free instruction source. Dropping things, because in order to drop something, it needs to go in the consuming glyph. Yeah. Aside from that, this sort is sort of interesting because it doesn't do the more obvious method of using both inputs and just rearranging the atoms to get to salt waste. This one actually uses the Bernoulli wheel and triplex bonding, which in this good secondary is not optimal because it requires a bunch of extra glyphs and the Bernoulli wheel.
Okay.
It also requires more track to use those glyphs.
Yeah, I did
But
know.
one thing that's convenient for it is that the atoms are already perfectly arranged when it starts almost. It doesn't have to do with the rearranging of the atoms.
So, kind of interesting, you can go either way with the reagents. Here, this one uses just the charred sulfur, but you can use both, which I think the others might do.
Yeah.
You could, no, you can't just use saltpeter by itself, because that would involve using the animismus glyph, which forces 4 instructions.
Yeah, you can't use the animismus glyph because you need to drop something on it and it won't immediately consume it. Actually, there's one way you can use the animismus glyph in 3i sort of, that is by overlapping onto it, but then it immediately crashes. Actually, I don't know if it immediately crashes, but you would have... No, it doesn't immediately crash, I'm pretty sure. Because you would have to put a length 1 hex arm on one of its outputs to actually trigger using 3 instructions.
Yeah, the problem is access, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because it's an awkwardly shaped glyph. Because you don't have that problem with purification. You can use purification in 3i, but not animismus.
Yeah, because you can't access all 3 of its inputs, or 2 of its inputs with 1 arm at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and that's a problem. Yeah, exactly. Because that's the only way you're going to get it to activate is if you can drop both on the same time, and you can't because there is no arrangement of arms that lets you do that. Whereas there is with the glyph of purification, which I don't have. Let's just pretend this is a purification glyph, because these would be the 2 output.
Yeah, the consuming glyphs you can use in 3i are purification, dispersion, and
projection.
Disposal.
I guess you can count
as well.
Yeah. All right. So these aren't in order, so I have to eyeball it. The next up is Biggie at 320.
So this would be 5th place in the instruction metric.
Yes, good point. This is 5th place. Actually, it's 4th place because one person submitted 2 different 3i solves.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so this is kind of what I was more so expecting, which is both inputs.
Yeah. This one sort of does it in an interesting way, where it, instead of using the Morse immediately, it will use the next Morse along. So like for the first 2 inputs, it drops off a Morse and a half-finished product.
It is cool that it, because it conditionally,
Yeah, and then it will now grab that Morse on the going around because it wasn't the finished product, and then it will dispose of it instead of grabbing the finished product that would be attached to it normally.
Yeah, so it conditionally disposes Morse if it's the first output, which is a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's it's at least worse than mine, which doesn't do that. I'm pretty sure, so probably unnecessary, but it's neat.
I know, because I have optimized instructions before, and basically my entire goal was to just make the track loop as small as I can. And that seems
usually the goal.
And that makes it faster and for some reason cheaper. Well, not for some reason, but because track loops, when they're this big, are expensive as shit. And you usually need a similar amount of glyphs no matter what.
Yeah.
So usually when you're secondary optimizing, you usually end up optimizing all 3 at once.
Yeah. The only exception to this can be IC, where sometimes you can get the same track loop to make you 2 products by making it a bit longer. Or multiple products.
Yeah.
In 1 track loop. That's like the exception there. Area is also just make the track loop smaller, which is kinda obvious.
Alright. Moving on.
Yep.
Next up is in third place. Your solution, Hutabi. 290G.
Neat. This again using the two reagent method, except this one does it for what does first disposes of the salt and then rearranges.
Yeah, I'd say this is the most straightforward method, which I'm
Yeah.
a little surprised we haven't seen until now. But it's just, yeah, get rid of the salt, bond everything together. You've got to, yeah,
And then just move that one was over.
yeah, basically just grab that one Moors and just move it around.
Yeah.
Like if I was, I didn't, but if I was doing this in 3i, this would have been the first thing that would have come to mind. Because you can just grab both salt kind of nicely and dispose them quite nicely.
Yeah, usually I'm not the sort of person to like look for more advanced soils once I get my primary metric goal that I have or that I want.
Yeah.
With instructions at least, that's usually also like I usually arrive at something that's close to optimal already quite quickly. Just because usually the simplest way tends to be one of the more obvious ways to do it. And usually the simplest way is also the fastest way because like less steps. Just you do less things, you use less track.
Meh.
Although sometimes doing more things can be more convenient because of the side you're working from or things like that. For example, like on this one I have to sort of move one Moors from one side all the way to the other side of the intermediate, and I can only do that from the one side it's on, which sort of limits things.
Alright. With that,
Rubik's has speed solve done. Did they win?
Speed solve, did you win? You might have actually. Let's have a look before I reveal second place. No. Faindeer won. It's not someone I'm used to speed. No, Faindeer, then Username Void, then Rubik's. Sorry, Rubik's. I did not realize Faindeer speed solved. Alright. Moving on. Actually, I'll just come back to it later. We'll just do second place. In second place, at 245G, Spiritual Shampoo. That is a small track loop.
Yep, and it looks to be doing the same thing mine was doing, just
It just
more
does.
efficiently.
Yeah, it outputs the black powder on the second go around, which lets you use a smaller track loop.
Yep. That, and that's one of the sneaky, that's one of the like more advanced things, is you can like grab things on the second go around and do things to them again. And sort of layer steps on top of each other.
Which is kind of cute, yeah, because that kind of takes full advantage of the fact that you're only grabbing salt at first. Because you're not grabbing the fire or the Moors until the second go around. So you can use it on like a different arm, have it pass over different hexes or different glyphs.
Another interesting thing it does is there's an intermediate step where it bonds the two fires and Moors back to the Moor stick it ripped fire and salt and Moor stick it ripped off.
Yeah.
So it's very top. And that allows it to reattach the Moors from a different angle. Or that allows it to reattach the Moors easier. I don't think it's actually from a different angle, it just makes it easier.
This is a good solve, but it was not the best instruction solve. No. Taking the W, our true instructions main. No, I'm just sassing Spiritual Shampoo because he was sassing other people about being an instruction main, so I'm just sassing him back here. Our winner on all 3 metrics is Rolamni.
Ah, yes, the original instruction.
The original instruction main. He has marked his territory. So this is actually distinctive. So you might notice in the solution titles ICIA, even though it's cheaper than the other solves. He mentions in the notes the IG version uses 1 bond or less for an additional track. So if he was cost optimizing, it would have been 220.
Ah.
But it would have been a little slower. It's also the smallest, for what it's worth, at 100 hexes exactly. So, yeah, basically it does what Spiritual Shampoos does, but...
Notable differences here is it grabs a Morse instead of grabbing the swords.
Yeah, it does. So it kind of doesn't bother disposing of salt till... So yeah, instead of grabbing 2 salt and disposing both salt at once, it'll just dispose one of the salts later. And just carry the black powder to the output glyph while it's moving, which is the direction it needs to go in anyway, because that's how you close the loop.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool.
That is what like the neatly optimized instructions sort of look like. It's usually like they start out as a massive sprawling mess, and then as they get more and more optimized, they end up becoming more and more condensed, and sometimes more and more layered.
Speaking of Rolamni, he was also messaging me that he was working on a 19 area solve. Within an hour, he got to 5 out of 6 products, but then realized it was the 6th product that was the problem, and he only had half an hour to go before the deadline, so... Good, he nearly pulled out a 19 area out of his ass really quickly. I would have been impressed, but no, it's the 6th one when you're area optimizing that's the real problem, so yeah.
Yeah, of course, if you have area of waste, it's always a 6th one.
Scary moment. Just reminds you, just a scary reminder of how good Rolamni is.
Yeah. I mean, it's always the 6th one, and this is the 12th one.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. When you're area optimizing, you almost... If it's like a hard area puzzle, you always have to just try and figure the last one out first.
Yeah. Or it's just the last step if there's a waste.
I'd say, like, if you're getting into area optimizing, even if you're unsure, just work the last one out first. Because that's probably going to be the hardest part.
Yeah, or the last step. Because usually you're assembling something large-ish. So you probably want to figure out what's the last thing I want to do. Because that's usually the biggest thing. Sometimes it's also the first thing if you're a really large creation. That's important. Or if it's a really easy area, it's just the glyphs, but that's easy area.
This is very hypnotic to watch, actually. Something about a well-optimized instructions puzzle, it's just relaxing to watch.
Yeah. It's certainly a different kind of beautiful than one silver 3i.
Alright. We did have... Actually, Rolamni did have another instructions. So this came with this... It's slightly worse, but it comes with the stipulation of it uses the small arm.
Okay.
Because I don't think we saw any length 1 arms in the instruction solves, but this is that.
Yeah. With the small arm instructions, you don't get to use disposal.
No, this is waste chain hours.
Yep. Actually, the small arm prevents you from using disposal and dispersion. Actually, it doesn't prevent you using dispersion, but it makes dispersion much more annoying because you can get rid of you can only get rid of equilibrium in exchange for I think it's what is it, either air or
Fire? I think it's either air or fire.
yeah. No, I think it's air or what was the double? What was the like down was on the stripe?
I think
how did I get was it Earth? Yeah, it was Earth. Yeah, I think it's isn't it like I forgot the order. It doesn't really matter. It's you get one of the elements.
Yeah. I did know what you mean, yeah. It's one of those elements, alright.
Yeah. But the thing that the short arm allows you to do is, in some cases, it allows you to. It's the only one that will let you drop the product with the correct things you need to grab. Sometimes the product necessitates it. Sometimes it's just purification, because the length 1 hex arm is the only one that can do purification with 3 instructions.
Yeah.
And the last one, was there a third thing that requires that? No, I don't think so.
Alright, we got one more solve to go through before we call it a stream, though. Oh.
Obviously, this puzzle doesn't require a length 1 arm for instructions, but that's another challenge because now you have to make a waist chain.
It's harder with the length one arm. Yeah. Alright, so those are all the instruction solves. Thank you for those. That was a pretty cool hidden third metric, I'm not gonna lie. Cycles and area were both interesting for this puzzle, though, but I don't know. Never say never when it comes to actually having instructions in a weekly. It does have to be designed for, though. Like, you really have to be designing a puzzle with the intention of this is an instruction puzzle, which is hard, but not impossible. This is a good instruction puzzle, this puzzle. But I do think that just owes to the fact that it's an interesting puzzle for many
I wouldn't
metrics.
say it's that good of an instruction puzzle because it doesn't use some of it. There's not very many of the like more advanced instruction tech, like
That's true.
intermediate chains, just like all the stuff you can do with chaining.
Spiritual Ship who sent us an instruction puzzle as a weekly submission, but it was a sadistic puzzle. That dude does not hold back on his puzzle design.
Was it one that uses alternative disposal?
I don't even... Oh, there's a lot of triplex and bond management and... It made black... It was like... It makes black powder look like an easy puzzle. Although...
black powder is an easy instruction puzzle.
It's an easy instruction... But yeah, I mean... Alright, a better comparison is it would make Arcorite Promotion look like an easy puzzle.
What was Arcorite Promotion again? I need to look it up.
I was like, that was in the first weeklies. It was week 4. It was that rate monster. You did pretty well, I think, on it.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, it was like the big rate monster with the giant silver input and the giant gold output.
Yep.
Yeah.
It didn't it? Was there a free... I did a free eye of it. No, Arcorite Promotion wasn't... That doesn't look difficult. You have disposal.
Yeah, I don't think... I can't... Anyway, we're getting sidetracked though. I do want to wrap things up. Sorry. So
Yep.
last solve, it is Biggie's speed solve, I believe. Just give you an idea of how easy this puzzle can be to solve. That is very easy. Yeah, just literally in the notes, speed solve. But yeah, okay, I did just want to get that out of the way real quick. Because now it is time to wrap things up. This is a pretty long stream though. Having a look. Over 3 hours. That's pretty good for a weekly stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was, so, we kind of fucked up the, cycles calculations of Black Powder, but it worked out anyway. And I make no apologies for area. I thought area was super interesting. And that's a week. So join us next week for Eye Drops of Irritation. This is my puzzle for the year. The other puzzles are all like partial contributions, but this is the one that I've kind of like been sitting on for a bit. So I am keen to see what you'll come up with. Some in height are not considered particularly experimental anymore, but they're also not like the cardinal metrics, I guess. So see how we go with them. Yeah, also I'm getting yeah, the word irritation does a lot of heavy lifting in the title. I'll let you sit with that one. This is definitely a thing. Alright, I'll leave you with that. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you next week.